Live in 3, 2, 1.
And now it's time for Nerd Talk with Slider, Brandon, and Ryan.
Hey guys, what's up? It is time for another episode of Nerd Talk. I am Slider, one of your hosts, and along with me is Brandon.
Hey guys, what's up?
And Todd Pyro.
Hey, what's up?
And tonight we are talking about a lot of shit because we kind of missed last week and we're still doing some catch up, but for good reason. So tonight we're starting off with Murder on the Orient Express. And if you'll notice, I have the spoiler alert tag because we are going to talk about everything that occurred in this movie. So if you have not seen this movie and you don't want the movie spoiled for you, I imagine you should hit mute right the fuck about now. So, Murder on the Orient Express. I want to go last because I have an opinion that appears to be very unpopular about this movie, and I think I want to hear Brandon's opinion first.
I actually liked it. Now, before I go into it too much, I will say this. I know Ryan or Todd Pyro did not see the movie, so he read about it and read the spoilers and read the ending. I feel if I had done that, I would not have enjoyed it anywhere near as much.
Oh yeah, that's because it's a whodunit.
Yes, and at one point in the movie, I was very disappointed for all of 2 minutes until I realized that was intentional. So I had my suspicions of who did it throughout. Well, not really throughout the movie, but in the beginning, you see the Black Doctor talking to a female, and they have a short conversation that the detective overhears, and I was like, it can't be them because that's too easy. It's so obvious. And then later on, he's like, "Oh yeah, I did it. I fucking murdered the guy." And I'm like, "Fucking why? Why would you do that?" And then obviously, turned out very differently. But it was so. I feel it was so intricately done with the way they wove the story and tied all of these people together. So, spoiler alert here, even though it was said earlier. Literally everyone on the goddamn train is the one who fucking killed the guy. I also don't know why they casted Johnny Depp. It was entirely pointless. They could have shoved anyone into that role. But overall, I mean, like I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed trying to figure out who did it. I really liked. I don't know the actual actor's name for some reason right now. The detective. I really liked him and how he was OCD on things and how he picked up on everything to figure stuff out. I mean, which is why he's the greatest detective in the world. But I overall liked it. The only issue I had was when the doctor guy revealed himself as the killer. But like I said, that was all of 2 minutes, and then he's like, "That's not right. You're not the actual killer, or if you are, you're not the only one."
Well, I'm going to go ahead next since Todd just read about it. And I'm going to say this. I am surprised at what you just said, Brandon, because I didn't like this movie. I loved this movie. I fucking loved this movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
So wait,
okay.
That's the unpopular opinion. I mean, I didn't read reviews on it.
Yeah, I've been looking at reviews, and the reviews have a lot of negative things to say. And what's interesting about that is I don't disagree with the reviews. However, and I'm going to cover that here in a second, Kenneth Branagh's performance as the detective is fantastic. He so brings you in as that character, and you totally believe he is the kind of person that picks up on everything, that every little inconsistency bothers. When he's walking from I think it's the station to the boat that he was originally supposed to be on, he steps in a pile of shit.
Yeah. That was fucking good.
What bothers him isn't that he stepped in a pile of shit. It's that now that he stepped in the pile of shit, the shit is asymmetrical. So he has to step his other foot in the pile of shit to make it symmetrical, and then he's okay with that. And I think that completely sets the tone for who this detective is and how he does things the way he does.
I do have a comment about that, because when they first introduce him with the child running with the eggs, before I figured out he was OCD when he started measuring them, I thought he was just an asshole.
I agree with that. I agree. It's just like, wow, this guy's kind of a dick, right? And obviously, as it progresses, you realize, oh, he's not a dick. He just has issues.
Yeah.
And
he was nice to the kid. He wasn't mean about it. He's like, no, you keep them. He's like, they're not,
right.
But you keep them. Enjoy.
And so they establish who he is as a character through those scenes, right? And then once the actual interactions with the complement of the train crew occurs, you find out he's friends with the guy that basically runs the train in transit, and you find out a little bit about each character, right? And like you said, the whole thing with Johnny Depp,
about them, not really about them, but
but like no fucking reason for Johnny Depp to be in this movie. Absolutely zero. You could have put a paper mache doll in his place, and it would have functioned exactly the same way.
Yeah,
right?
He didn't have many lines, and the lines that were there weren't Johnny Deppish in any fashion. It was just a guy who was a scumbag.
Now, here's the funny part about that. I know you know this, Brandon, but people that are kind of new to this, and you, Ryan, I don't like Johnny Depp. I don't like
the only one.
I don't like most of the things that he's in. I think back in the day, he did some really good roles, but then he started doing like all these quirky, crazy fucking characters, and none of them worked for me. And that includes the goddamn Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, I think it started with Pirates. I think I started with Pirates, and then he just kept that same personality trait through all the movies that he's done since.
To be fair, though, he does and is doing the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because of his kid, and he named his kid Jack.
Yeah, I get that. It's still not an enjoyable character for me.
No, and I get that. It's definitely not for everyone.
Right.
I really liked him in Secret Window, to be honest. That was probably one of my favorite roles that I saw him do.
One of my favorites is obviously Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad you said that.
If you want to come more recent, though, I really, really, really liked him as the demon barber of...
Todd. Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, Sweeney Todd. But it's the demon barber of...
Baker Street.
Baker Street, thank you. Right? I love that movie, and you guys know I like musicals. But, I mean, I really, really enjoyed that that movie. And he wasn't quite the normal character he was, but he wasn't this fucking fairy tale weirdo that he likes to be in a lot of his movies. So that said, Johnny Depp really was out of place in this movie. But even though he was kind of an asshole, his character was unlikable. He wasn't that normal weirdo character that he was. He was just kind of like, hey, I'm a dick, and I'm going to show you that I'm a dick. And that was the end of his
screen time. Did he have?
Maybe
10 minutes.
Maybe 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah, it was not much.
Well,
like I said, he had a few lines to show that he was an asshole, and then he was dead.
Yeah, and then the longest scene he has is when he meets the detective, and every scene with the detective is good. But again, not because of Johnny Depp, it's because of the detective, it's because of Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things I actually really like, well, I mean, there's a lot of things I like about the movie, but I thought was hilarious, I should say, is that when he is sleeping on the train, he gets woken up, you see he's wearing a protective cover over his mustache.
Yes.
To keep it in perfect shape.
Because let's be honest, that mustache was the fucking star of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
That mustache was incredible. Right? But And here's where the reason I say how much I liked this movie is an unpopular opinion, is because this movie has a star-studded cast. You know, you've got Daisy Ridley, you've got darn it, what's her name? Not Sharon Stone. Help me out here, Brandon.
I can't think of her name right now. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. You've got all of a sudden all the names are escaping me, damn it. But the woman that plays M in James Bond, Judi Dench, Lady Judi Dench.
You've also got the Green Goblin guy. Names are escaping me too.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe.
Thank you. Yes.
Right. I mean, this is a star-studded cast. These are super heavy hitters. All of them are talented actors. And because of the way the story works, not a single one of them gets to shine. Not because they didn't do well. The way the story unfolds for the viewer, you have limited time with each character. So the character development really isn't there other than, well, here's how I fit into the story. And that is
it kind of, I mean, I think the character development is kind of there with the tidbits that the detective learns.
Well, I think the character development involves the inference of who these people are based on the circumstances that they've been put into.
I mean, like, for example, like Willem Dafoe, you think he's this giant racist douchebag of a professor, and then he's not.
Yeah, he turns out to be an undercover cop. You know, spoiler. That's why that tag's up there over here.
Which I thought was great that he picked it up because he mispronounced a single word.
Yes. You know,
the story was flawless up until that point, but because he mispronounced a word, he's like, nope, I know who you are now.
Yeah, because he says that he even said he's like, oh, he was doing so well. You know, that's actually a line that the detective says. But I think in terms of all of the passengers, the one that stands out to me the most is Daisy Ridley. And as you know, Daisy Ridley is a character, or the actress that plays Rey in Star Wars. But yeah, she's the governess, and she is the one that has, I think, the most unflinching, unsuspicious story in the entire thing until he starts poking holes into it. Everyone else is kind of a shady character on some level, where she seems to be really above board, and he picks up on that.
I disagree because of the conversation that she had with the doctor on the boat.
Yeah, I gotta say, the way you guys are describing this reminds me very much of Clue.
It's very much like Clue.
Yeah, it is very much like Clue, and a lot of the
negative criticism comes from because it's very much like Clue. You only see tidbits of each character. Is that what?
No, and I'll clarify that for you. The negative comments that are being made by the critics is that Clue did it a lot better. But Clue is a fucking classic, yes. Clue is awesome, Brandon.
I kind of got sided with Brandon. It was good.
Oh my god, Clue is awesome. It's a classic. What is wrong with you people?
Don't let nostalgia cloud your mind, man.
Yeah, like this. This movie I really like. And actually, one of the things I like, not even, I mean, it's story related, but it has nothing to do with any of the characters, any of the killers on the train. I like that they essentially set this up to be quite possibly a trilogy.
A trilogy? How do you figure?
So in the beginning, not the beginning of the movie, but before he gets on the Orient Express, someone comes up to him and he's like, they try to hand him a letter. He's like, is this the blah, blah, blah case? And he's like, well, yes. He's like, well, I don't need to read it. Is it what I said? Yes. Well, all right, then I'm good to go.
Oh, yeah. So there's like a murder on the boat, right?
No. Well, no. So that was part one of that. Now, that happens later on in the movie after they reveal that everyone's the killer and he essentially lets them all go. When he's getting off the train, he's approached again. When he's approached again, he asks if it's about that same case, and it's not. So him inquiring if it's about that case and having it not be about that case and it's about some kind of other murder, that leads me to believe that they could do a sequel based on the case he's going to work on now with the murder, and then have the third one be this big case that he's been guessing on so far, but hasn't really said much about.
All right, I kind of agree with you there, and I'm kind of wondering right now because, as you know, Murder on the Orient Express is a novel, and there have been several movies made of it. Now, whether or not there are other stories involving this detective, I am not 100% sure. I'd have to look into that. But I could see totally what you're saying. There are other cases that they could make movies about with this detective, and I think they would be equally as entertaining. Whether or not they're actually going to make a trilogy out of this, I don't think so.
Maybe not a trilogy. I mean, maybe if they did any kind of sequel at all, they could leave it at 2 and just have the second one pick up at the end of his solving this murder and actually pick up on the case that he mentioned a couple times during this movie.
Well, this movie literally could turn into a series kind of like the Bond series. I mean, this guy could have endless cases. He's pretty much a Sherlock Holmes character.
Yes, however, the actor is older.
Of course,
it takes time to make movies. So
and Kenneth Branagh he's very selective about the stuff that he does. He's not in just anything. So I think it'd be very hard for them to do what I just suggested. A trilogy.
The trilogy could be up there, but I could definitely see a sequel.
Hollywood loves their trilogies, though. They really do.
Yeah, that's why I thought about the trilogy, because Hollywood loves the trilogies, and they mentioned this bigger case a couple times, but then he has this murder case at the very end.
Well, I think that really kind of depends on how much money this movie makes, and the movie's not making that much money right now, as it seems.
Which is odd, because I mean, I thought it looked interesting in the trailers, and I was right in my assumption because I thought the movie was good. I was speechless last night. I walked out of the theater just like I don't know what to say. Like I want to say stuff, but I can't right now.
So when I walked out of the movie, I literally, and this is a quote of my thought process. I walked out and I was like, Jesus, I think this is a modern day classic. And I wasn't sure if that was accurate because of what I said about the other characters. That they really don't have any time to shine as individuals in this story.
Well, and you know who does, and who I feel bad for, is the actual guy who owns the train.
Oh yeah, because he's like his sidekick.
He's like the sidekick, but he got so played by everyone on the train.
Yes, of course,
including the guys who work for him.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's kind of and this is what I said earlier about how this is what I mean about character development through the circumstances they're in, not necessarily the things that they do on screen. Right? So the introduction of that character was basically when he meets him in the kitchen, and they automatically, this conversation is like, oh yeah, he thinks I'm a scumbag. He's like, yeah, because you are a scumbag. And they agree on that. And he's like, ha ha ha, all right, let's move forward. And
well, now I have to, yes, they said that, but I have to disagree on him actually thinking that he's a scumbag, because Johnny Depp's character, he knew he was a scumbag just by meeting him, and he wanted no part of him.
Okay, so maybe scumbag isn't the right word. Maybe degenerate, because he knew this guy was not a good guy, but he wasn't a bad guy either.
Right. So yeah, I think there's like a line. So, and I think that the detective can easily pick up on that line, and so that's why he's fine with this character, especially because the character admits, like, yeah, I'm not the best guy. I sleep around.
Right.
I fuck prostitutes.
Yeah. Well, that's the first. He's like, oh, hi, you're so-and-so, and you're a prostitute. And she's like, well, yes, I am. Because she was so surprised.
Well, also she knew who he was, and she was just excited to meet him.
Right. So, and I'm not talking about the rest of the cast, because really there's not a whole lot to talk about other than the fact that
other than how they played either off of each other or how they lied super well.
Yes. And so ultimately, to clarify something that Brandon's been saying, this is a classic whodunit movie or whodunit story in which it turns out everyone is the killer. And when we say everyone is the killer, everyone is the killer. Everyone. So they drug this guy, and they all have something against him. So they all take turns stabbing him. Everyone is literally the killer.
Yeah, which I thought was great. Like I said, I was upset when the doctor guy revealed that it was him, and I was like, that's too fucking easy. That's stupid if that's true. And
yeah, I had the same feeling.
Then they corrected the situation and turned out the R. I was like, oh wow, like that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it was really well done. And not only is everybody the killer, when the detective figures out that everyone's the killer, he's like, I don't blame you. This guy was a piece of shit. He deserved to die. However, I can't really lie about it. So the only way out is for you guys to kill me. And he hands the gun to the person that was basically the ringleader of the whole idea of everyone killing him.
The mother.
Yeah, the mother. And she
which, if you don't know, Ryan, the whole thing that Johnny Depp did was he kidnapped a little girl and killed her.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
I know.
And the best part of that scene is he's like, this is the only way out. If you don't do this, I'm going to have to reveal you. And she pulls the trigger. Okay.
On herself.
Yeah, exactly. And the gun's empty. And it's how he judges her character. Okay. Like, she's basically, well, I can't let everyone go down for me, and I can't let this guy ruin his reputation, so I got to take myself out. So she pulls the trigger, nothing happens, and he's like, all right, you're actually a good person. So I'm going to have to just live with this situation and tell people, what the clues led to, which originally was the killer left the train.
Yeah.
Right?
That's someone like essentially broke in, killed him, and left
and jumped off the train, right? So it was really just kind of a surprise because you really thought he was going to stick to his guns and say no.
Yeah, I did. I thought he was.
Yeah, you thought everyone was going down for this, and he just kind of went, nope. This guy was a sack of shit, and
his sidekick too was like, you can't just let them kill you.
Yeah, but he was like, yes, I can.
Balls.
But he handed her an empty gun. So if she pulled the trigger, he would have known, hey, you know what? You're not that great a person. You're going down for this.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready for my opinions?
Yes, let's hear it.
All right, as someone who hasn't seen the movie, first of all, I want to say that the trailer didn't interest me. I didn't have the biggest want to go see the movie. I was worried it was going to be another Suburbicon, and we'll get to that later. But after reading the story, and you guys know that I'm a very story-driven person when it comes to movies. So after reading the story, and this movie is not the best kind of movie where you want to read a story about, because it's a whodunit and you spoil it for yourself. So you spoil yourself of that aha moment,
that impact that this reveal had.
But reading it was so good. I was like, this is a movie that people should see, just because of the story alone. Like, because when I was reading it, I was like, it doesn't have all the nuances that the film has when you read it. So as I'm reading it and I get to the last paragraph, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay, all right, that's a good ending.
Yeah, that ending was pretty good. I was very surprised that it was literally all of them. And
the nuances that you guys are talking about weren't in the plot for it. So I feel like the addition of that makes this a really good film. And I get how the critics are saying, oh, and how you can critique it saying, oh, a lot of characters don't have really good backstory and you don't really know who they are and stuff, but you have to see it from the detective's point of view. That's kind of how you're viewing it as a viewer.
Well, actually, I kind of hold on, Brendan. Let me take this one. I want to clarify something. It's not that the characters don't have backstory. The characters are all backstory. Okay, it's the lies that they tell to conceal their backstory that makes this his finding out what happened interesting.
And that's good story writing.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say because look, like you have to like take a step back and look at it like all of these characters made up cover story, not just cover stories, cover identities even, to conceal who they were.
Yeah, this is essentially the perfect crime.
And it would have been if the detective hadn't been on the train.
Not boarded the train because of this other case.
But then again, if it was a perfect crime, why would they come up with all this backstory? Because they didn't know he was going to be there.
No, they didn't know he was going to be there, but they all needed some kind of backstory so that it wouldn't lead to them.
Yeah, so every character on this train on the surface had nothing to do with each other, when in reality they were completely intertwined in each other's lives.
Yeah. Every single person had something to do.
Why would they create such elaborate backstories if
two
they
reasons.
Didn't know the detective was going to be there?
2 reasons. One, to get away with the murder once it occurred. And the second was actually to fool Johnny Depp's character, because had he known
who they were,
he'd have been like, I'm not fucking getting on this train.
Yeah, because he knew somebody was out to get him. And that was kind of the premise of him meeting the detective. He's trying to hire the detective to suss out who wants to kill him.
And the detective's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go fuck. You're a piece of shit. Go fuck yourself. Right.
Man, if you're that big of a piece of shit that you're like, man, I think I'm going to board a train or an airplane in the modern day equivalent, but I think someone on there's going to kill me, so I'm going to bring a detective with me. That's kind of...
Well, no, he didn't bring the detective with him. He just happened to meet the detective on there.
Yeah, it was circumstances where he was like, hey, this detective, I know who he is. Let me try to hire him. All right. But that said, Josh Gad, that's the guy's name, the guy who played his like assistant.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. He did a really good job. Damn it. Who is the mom? Let me look it up.
All right. Well, while you're looking
at a wonderful job.
I want to vent a little bit because, like you guys were saying, Johnny Depp did not need to be in that movie.
No.
And the issue I take with that is they could have had someone else. They could have had another actor who.
Well, why?
Because they only added him for his name.
Well, I want to say, they could have picked a nobody and put it in that role as well. I mean, they didn't need to pick anyone in particular because of how little screen time and how little the character actually matters.
Exactly, and you don't see very many films that go out and get relatively unknown or actors who need to get their name out there. And whenever they just fill, it's not like what's her name? Who dated Ray William Johnson? Her name's Anna. I think it's Anna. She's a YouTuber. She dated Ray William Johnson, and a lot of her vlogs she was an Ant-Man. She was the chick whenever they went through the backstory of, hey, I know this guy who knows this guy who talked to this chick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chick. And they could have put someone more famous or well known in that role, but they didn't. They gave her a chance to get screen time.
But I mean, on the other hand,
that was good.
They do that. I mean, they put Nathan Fillion in the credits to Guardians of the Galaxy when he did the voice of Howard the Duck.
He did not do Howard the Duck. That is a misnomer. He did the guy in prison that threatens them when they first get there, and Groot sends his roots up his nose and picks him up.
Oh, really?
But then again, that's not what I'm kind of trying to get at. I'm trying to get at.
I mean, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, they could have put a nobody in. They could have put. It literally doesn't matter who they put in there at this point. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It didn't need to be Johnny Depp. It was pointless.
Okay, so for example, one of the characters is Penelope Cruz. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Penelope Cruz was.
She played the nurse, and it was like, she's such a talented actress, but for the amount of time and the things that happened that involved the nurse, they could have put anyone in that particular role. Who else we got here? God, the list is so long. There's like so many people, like even in the background. Judi Dench was the princess. Olivia Colman was her handmaid. Willem Dafoe was the fake professor.
Professor Cop.
Correct, Professor Cobb. That's his name. Wait, Cobb? No, it's Gerhard Hardman.
Professor Cop.
Okay, yes, Professor Cobb. Oh, come on. The names are listed in alphabetical order. This is a pain in the ass.
What the hell site are you looking at?
IMDb.
How did it pull it up in alphabetical order? It never does that.
How it did it, I can't tell you. Over Daisy Ridley, which I said was the au pair. Her name was Mary Debham.
Michelle Pfeiffer, Jesus.
Michelle Pfeiffer, yes. Why?
It took me all of 5 seconds.
Her name is like so not on this list, at least not at the front of it. But Michelle Pfeiffer was basically the ringleader. She was the mother of the child. Of the child? Yes, of the child that got murdered. And one of the passengers on the train was the older sister of the child. Another one was the nursemaid of the child. Another one was the son of the prosecutor that prosecuted the case against a woman because they forced him to, that killed herself.
Willem Dafoe was the detective investigating.
Right.
Fuck.
The
Judi
conductor
Dench was the grandmother.
Right. The conductor was the brother of the woman that killed herself.
One of the guys was the limo driver.
Yeah. So all of these people had something to do with this child that got murdered. Right. So and that's why and kind of what you said about it earlier, Ryan, about why did they come up with this elaborate backstory if they didn't know that the detective was going to be there? They knew a detective was going to be there. They didn't know the best detective in the world was going to be there.
They didn't know a detective was going to be there.
If you kill somebody, is a detective not going to come out and investigate?
But he wasn't dead yet.
Yeah, I want to say that someone would come out. Like, so once the train arrived, they would have police investigating and stuff. But
they knew they were going to kill him, right?
Well, yeah.
So after they killed him, the cops were going to show up and have an investigation. So they needed a story.
Yes.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Should have thrown him off the train.
Actually, that probably would have been an easier, like, oh, he fell off the train. What the hell? You know?
He committed suicide.
Yeah. You know, oh, he was a piece of shit and his conscience
owed a lot of money.
Yeah. That totally would have worked out. I mean, any number of stories.
How it should have ended right there.
But the way it played out was far more interesting. I think this is a great movie. I think everyone that has an opportunity should go see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think people should see it. It was very good. I mean, it's too bad maybe we can later just clip this out. Like, go see this movie before you see all our fucking spoilers that we just discussed. You know,
it's like, but like Kenneth Branagh is an amazing actor. He's also the director. He's so good at what he does. And you never get to I'm not going to say never. You rarely get to see him do something like this. And it was just.
Will you go to the right a little, please? No, I'm just his character.
Right. Like when he's telling people to fix their ties and shit, you know, but like if I saw nothing but his character talking to people, I still would have loved this movie as much as I did.
I agree.
He makes the
movie.
Yes.
I want to see a fanfic of it being an alternate universe, and it's just Sheldon Cooper as a detective on a train instead of Kenneth.
And you know what's funny about what you're saying is I think Sheldon Cooper would do just as well in a much more fucked up, condescending way.
Yeah.
Because I love the character of Sheldon Cooper. I don't think the young Sheldon show is going to last. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So if you stuck with us this long and you haven't seen this movie, God damn it, go see this movie. It's so good and it so deserves your hard-earned money, and it is a good time in the theater, and you're not going to regret it, I promise, unless you're a hater, and then go to hell. All right, so you ready to move on?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, Ryan, your favorite movie of the year, as far as I know. We're talking about Suburbicon with Matt Damon.
Oh man, Jose, it's all your fault. You were like, "Let's go see Suburbicon. It's in theaters."
Hey, I was super excited. Super excited when I realized, hey, Suburbicon's out and this looks like it's going to be really interesting. Let's go see it and so we can talk
So
about it.
I'm sure your letdown was much
Oh.
bigger than mine.
Fucking A right.
All right,
I am so glad that I didn't see it because, like you two, well, maybe not you, Ryan, but like you, Jose, I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks pretty cool. And
Yeah.
then you guys saw it and said it. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah,
So-
I don't. Go ahead,
all
Ryan.
right,
Go ahead.
all right. So I went into this movie, and usually there aren't that many movies I go into that I don't know the story before I go into the movie, because that's just me. So I went into this movie because you recommended it, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna go into this movie, not look anything up about it, not look up any reviews, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. This movie was garbage. I thought it was garbage.
I don't know if garbage is a strong enough word.
From a person who likes, I like being put into the movie. I like sympathizing with characters or empathizing with characters, and I couldn't get that with any of the characters in this movie. I mean, that has to do with the story of the movie, but I didn't get that. I got that feeling with his uncle, with the little boy's uncle, and then he died.
So I'm going to lay this out, and this is why the spoiler tag is still up. Okay. The movie you expect to see is a man with his family in the 50s/60s era where he gets threatened and he defends his family and he has to justify all the bad things he's doing to them in order to not seem like a bad person. This is the movie I expected to see. The movie I got was super, super, super different. Okay. First of all, it's directed by George Clooney. I really like George Clooney. However, he's done some really major pieces of shit.
As a director.
As a director, yes. Including the Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar was another one of these movies where you had this loaded cast and you expected such great things, and it was just a piece of garbage. Okay.
Gravity.
Well, I actually liked Gravity more than most people. But as you get into this movie, like Ryan said, there's no one to root for. The only one to root for is the kid, and the kid has no real influence on the story.
He has no power. He has nothing
he's doing.
What's going on?
Nothing he's doing is driven by him. Everything is happening to him. Right. So he's just kind of the victim, which I think we're meant to be. We're supposed to put ourselves in the kid's seat. But it's just like, man, everyone in this movie is fucked up. Even the uncle. The uncle is the one guy who they give you up front. They're like, this guy's kind of an asshole. He's shady. We don't know what he does. Right. In the end, he is the best guy in the film, and they kill him off. You know. And when I say the best guy, I mean the nicest guy, the white hat, if you will, of the film. No one in this movie is good.
He's the only one who gave a shit about the kid.
Yes, right. And that includes not the aunt, not the dad, the mother. It's kind of hard to say because so darn it. Why can't I remember anybody's name today? Who's the actress that played the twins? Ryan?
Oh, I'm the worst person to ask.
I'm going to look it up. Because
I'm definitely the worst person to ask because I didn't even see the movie.
She does a really good job as both. At first, I thought they were mother and daughter because one of them looks so much older than the other.
They did a great job at that, though.
Yeah, they did a really good job at showing you why it's like that, why you have that thought. Are you serious? She's not in the first few names of the listing on IMDb again. Come on. She's a big actress too. She's not Julia Roberts. She's someone else. But basically there's twins, and Matt Damon is married to one of the twins. They have an accident and she gets put in a wheelchair, and she ends up getting killed by some nefarious people. Right. And what you find out, Julianne Moore. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Julianne Moore plays, the two sisters, and the mom, the one character, ends up getting killed by one of these nefarious people, and you think this is going to kind of be where Matt Damon stands up and defends his family. That's not the case. What ends up being is the person that killed the mother was actually hired by Matt Damon, and he was trying to have an affair with her sister, and they were going to go away to Aruba or wherever the hell it was, and they were going to use the insurance money from her death to do that, right? And when things started going south, they were like, well, I guess we're going to have to kill the kid. And the kid was his son, his biological son. He raised this kid, and he was like, oh, I guess we got to off him. He was a piece of shit. The character, and I hated everyone in this movie except the kid, right? But I'm going to try to be positive here and say none of the actors did a bad job in portraying the person that they were supposed to be. All of them did what they were supposed to, which was you were supposed to fucking hate these people, right? However, and this kind of leads into what we're going to talk about next, this is not the story that they prepared you for when they sold you a ticket. You went into this movie expecting one thing, you got something completely different, and it was terrible. They tried to deal with it in a humorous manner. And by the way, all of the funny scenes were in the trailer.
Oh my God.
Okay. And they give you the ending of the movie in the goddamn trailer. And I hate when they do that shit, because you're sitting there in the climactic scene going, all right, what's going to happen? And then they do the thing that you saw in the trailer, and you're like, motherfucker.
Oh my God, Jose.
What part was it?
They need to figure out what the fuck their fire department is doing in that goddamn town. They're driving down fucking like a fucking like rural, like not rural, but populated area, like a suburban street, going like 80 miles an hour, and
into another car head on.
Yeah.
So
and then a bicyclist.
He just rides away.
Enlighten me as to what the ending was.
So in the trailer, they show Matt Damon sitting down talking to his son, and he picks up a sandwich and he takes a bite out of it, and then he drinks some milk, right?
Okay.
In and of itself, that sounds very innocuous. Throughout the course of the film, once they decide that they have to kill the child, one of the ways they decide they're going to kill the child is they make him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and they lace the sandwich with a ton of sleeping pills, and then they pour a glass of milk, and they pour the rest of the crushed sleeping pills in the milk. The idea is to give the kid an overdose.
Well, his aunt did that, not his dad. His dad didn't know.
What the
Okay, so the dad doesn't know that happened. Then the aunt ends up getting killed by an insurance adjuster who's supposed to be investigating them, finds out what they're doing, and instead of turning them in, blackmails them for a piece of the pot. Okay? So she ends up dying. Once she dies, the sandwich and the milk are still on the table. He sits his kid down to say, hey, here's the situation. You can choose to die, or you can choose to do what I'm going to do and not tell anyone. While he's basically monologuing and telling him the whole plot, he's eating the sandwich and drinking the milk.
Okay.
Right? So at that point, he's dead. The kid is going to be just fine. Okay. So they completely gave away the ending of the story. Like in the scene that's supposed to be the most tense in the movie has no impact whatsoever. And there's one thing we're leaving out, Brandon. There's one thing we haven't talked about yet, because it kind of pisses me off that they use this as a storytelling device.
Oh, wait. Are you trying to talk about his neighbor?
Yes.
All right. Before you talk about his neighbor, another thing that we kind of left out was why the dad was sleeping with his wife's sister. Is because his wife was handicapped because of a car accident that we are believed was Matt Damon's fault.
Right. So Matt Damon was driving. They got into a car accident. She ended up being in a wheelchair. He basically decided, well, you're now an invalid and we can't have sex and I don't want to support you. So we're going to kill you.
I mean, you can still have sex. It'll just,
I believe she didn't have any muscle control from the waist down.
You don't need muscle control. You just got to lay there.
That's gross. And that would be like fucking a corpse. So that said, I guess we just learned a lot about Brandon.
You freak.
Yeah. So all that stuff happens, right? But so you go into this movie in the very opening of the film, right? This film about a white middle-class suburban family that you think is going to be a revenge story. The film opens with a black family moving in. And you're just like, what? Like, I mean, in all of the advertising, you've never seen this black family. You never see any of the black characters whatsoever. Okay. So this black family moves in, and it turns out everyone in this community is a fucking racist.
Well,
okay.
That would make sense, yeah.
During that time, yes, it makes a lot of sense, right? So there is this big subplot about how everyone in the neighborhood is trying to make life miserable for this black family, so they'll leave, right? And this activity, the activity of everybody trying to make the black family miserable, serves only to distract from what's happening right next door. Or I shouldn't say next door. They're actually back to back. So it's the house behind them, not the house next to them. Right? So the entire racism story exists to distract the majority of the population in the story from what's actually going on in the middle-class white suburb house. That's it. That's the only reason.
That's why it's Suburbicon, because they conned you. They also conned you into watching the movie.
And paying for a ticket.
And paying for a ticket, yes. And you know what? I don't care if it was a clever play on words.
I forget. What is it? An Emmy? Is that what they were going for? I feel like this was like an Emmy, like he was trying to get an Emmy.
It was supposed to be like an Oscar bait.
An Oscar, yeah. I feel like it was like he was trying to get an Oscar.
Yeah, and he so missed the mark.
Well, like
the Orient Express could get an Oscar for.
I agree. Not only can it, should it?
Yeah,
I mean, or not should it? It should.
Yes, I would agree with that too.
Well, I think it would have been a lot more. I think it would have been a lot. I think the subplot should have been toned down a lot more.
I agree. That subplot should have been, I mean, just very on the surface. And instead, they kind of delved into it, and you see like how the family is dealing with what's going on and how people are treating them. And the small child befriends Matt Damon's kid, the one that they're trying to kill. And it's a subplot that doesn't lead anywhere. Okay. And it's pretty gruesome, not gruesome, but it's pretty gritty. It's pretty hardcore because like ultimately they end up attacking this family's house. They break windows, they hang a Confederate flag in the window, they set his car on fire. I mean, this is not a nice situation.
And this is going on at the exact same time that Matt Damon ran out of the house and clubbed the insurance agent in the back of the head with a crowbar. To death.
No, was it a crowbar or was it a golf club?
Oh no!
It was a golf club.
It was a poker from the fireplace, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was a poker from the fireplace.
And I only saw the trailer.
Yeah, beats this dude to death in the middle of the street. Nobody sees it.
The whole neighborhood is rioting on the black family's house.
Yes, so.
And he just kind of looks around too.
Yep.
He just kind of looks around. There's no one out because they're all behind his house at the other family. The whole
racism thing serves as a distraction to what was going on
with the middle class white people.
Yeah, and that kind of pissed me off, to be honest. So if I'm going to tell the truth about it, I mean, they could have done anything as a subplot to cause that same type of reaction, and they used something that was like really socially relevant as a tool, and it kind of pissed me off. But that said, this movie's a piece of shit. It's a terrible movie. Although well acted, the story's really fucked up.
And it's bad in some parts. And
I haven't
the
seen.
fire truck. That was just a Deus Ex Machina device
Yes.
to kill off someone.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon in film. I mean,
But it was blaringly apparent because,
Yeah.
like I said, what fire truck is going to be going that fast and recklessly through a suburban neighborhood?
yes, it was super apparent. I don't disagree with you.
Before moving on to the next subject, I do want to speak up about the racism thing. I mean, even though I haven't seen the movie, you can do things in a good way and in a bad way, even if you're trying to be politically relevant at the time, such as Murder on the Orient Express had the racism thing too, and it's relevant, and they did it well.
Mm-hmm. You know, they didn't use
the
it.
professor was trying to be super racist, and Daisy Ridley was like, he's like, well, see, it's like these wines. You don't, you got to keep them separate. That's how it should be. And she's like, she just poured them together. She's like, I like a good rosé.
Yeah,
But they left it at that.
It was relevant. They left it at that, and it was done tastefully. I think in Suburbicon, it was not tasteful. I think it was kind of offensive the way they did it. And like you said, like they use a lot of like conveniences, a lot of Deus Ex Machina type events to make you believe that this story could happen the way it unfolded. So all in all, while it's well acted, I'm not even going to say it was well written.
What would you give this out of 10?
A 2.
Oh yes,
a 2. At best, Ryan.
Oh, definitely a 2.
Because like I said, the performances were good. They were okay. The actors did their job.
And if it was out of 3, the 3 of us, I think it would be a negative. I think it would be
if it was just 1 out of 3, it'd be a negative. You're right. Because it's a glaring. They tried to go for something, and it was a complete misjudgment. And they kind of fucked up. And I'm glad that the movie flopped. I hope it doesn't make any money, and I hope he doesn't do anything like that again. I love you, George Clooney, but you're not doing well so far. So moving on, we're gonna go to and this is what I meant when I said how this movie ties into the next thing. It's trailers that lie to you, and this is all about how not just the trailers but marketing campaigns for movies tell you what it is you're going to see, but only enough to entice you to go see it. And then you get some films that are just blatant ripoffs, kind of like this one. And Brandon has some opinions on that. So Brandon, I'm gonna let you go ahead.
My biggest one is it's got to be Frozen. I will give you, going back and watching the trailers, I will give you the fact that the trailers show Elsa's sister, much more than I remember. However, the marketing was entirely Elsa. Everyone was loving the song that Elsa sings, so that was on and played a lot, probably overplayed. All the toys, all the stuff was either the snowman or Elsa or both. So I didn't see this movie in the theater. I saw it way after the fact. And when I saw it, I just felt very lied to. Like I saw it, I was expecting the movie to be all about Elsa, and it just wasn't. And I was like, this is crap. Not that it's a bad movie, I just didn't enjoy it because I was expecting it to be about Elsa, and it wasn't.
So basically, your problem is you were expecting a superhero film. And
yes,
you didn't.
Yes, I was expecting much more magic and cool stuff happening, and
this is an argument that has gone on behind the scenes between me and Brandon for quite some time now, because I really stupidly loved Frozen, like a 4-year-old girl loves Frozen. That is how much I like this movie.
You like musicals.
Yeah, I do like musicals, but I also
and that has something to do with it.
Well, Idina Menzel is the character or the actress that plays the voice of Elsa. And she does the singing. And Idina Menzel is a fucking amazing actress. Amazing singer. Okay, so that in and of itself was a huge boom to me. But the fact that this was a film where Disney turned its princess trope on its ear and it had to do with the one act of true love not being between a man and a woman. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that this character in Anna, Elsa's sister, was really engaging and really just not what normal Disney princesses are supposed to be like. It is one of the best things about this movie. In terms of the trailer, in terms of the trailers and the advertising, and this is the argument that Brandon and I have had, the trailers do not trick you into thinking that the movie is mainly about Elsa. They do show lots of Anna, lots of Sven, lots of Olaf. I mean, the trailers give you a good, well-rounded idea of what this movie's going to show you.
Well, in a way.
Now, hold on, wait. Now, the rest of it, in terms of merchandising, toys, all this other stuff, they focused on the magical aspect of it. I completely see why they would do something like that, because that's the thing that's going to make money. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the story is going to be about. You saw they sold Snoke toys when episode 7 of Star Wars came out, and Snoke was not even technically in this film. He was just a hologram. You know, they're going to do what they're going to do to make money. However, the trailers and the advertising for the film, I thought, were actually representative of what you got in the theater.
Ryan,
all
I have to say about that.
All right. So, as you guys know, they originally had Elsa cast as the villain of the story, and they did a rewrite after hearing the song and going, "Oh well, fuck that. We're just gonna make her a good guy and just be misunderstood and not have her know how to use her powers or whatever." She was supposed to be the antagonist, and they had to do a complete rewrite, and it shows. Like, it shows in the writing where her parents go and talk to the trolls, and the trolls are like, "Hey, love is like love her, and she'll be good, and she won't be evil, and she'll be able to learn how to use her powers or whatever." And what do? They lock her up
in a room.
That seems reasonable, right? After they do the opposite of what they just were told.
And then of course, they lose the little brother in the jungle.
The little brother.
Tarzan. He's making a Tarzan reference because
they confirmed it. They confirmed that they're actually linked. So Tarzan is their little brother.
This is the first I'm hearing of that. That sounds ridiculous.
No, Brandon's right on the money.
I don't disagree. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that was a stupid idea if that's what they did. But
that's why the parents weren't around anymore, is because they got lost.
But what you're saying, Ryan, and you're not wrong. Okay, you're not wrong at all. But this movie was originally based on the Ice Queen, and the Ice Queen was the Elsa character, and she was a bad guy in the book. And they turned this story around to make it something because, and I'm not gonna lie, it 100% has to do with the singing of Idina Menzel. They were like, this song is super popular. People are gonna love it. They're gonna focus on this character. Let's change the story. And I think that was the right decision. I think
as far as their money, as far as them making money from the film, they did the right decision.
Not just from a money-making standpoint. I thought it was a good movie. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie sucked me in because it did not give you
the chemistry. It has, like you said, it changed the true love trope between a Prince Charming and a princess to being being the bond of two sisters, and that turned Disney movies on its head.
Right. And I really, really loved that. And I think
that wasn't their initial design, and parts of it show. And that's what pulled me away from the movie a little bit. But I agree. I like how it turns the trope upside down.
Well, I mean, I guess to get back on point, I mean, that wasn't really my issue. My issue is not within those aspects of the movie, because I can agree with all those things. I can even agree that the film itself is a good movie. I just didn't like it because of the marketing, and the song led me to believe that it was going to be about Elsa, and then when I saw it, it was not. So
Well,
I was just disappointed.
and here's
I
the reason
wanted to see an Elsa movie.
here's the reason I disagree with you so much, though, is because from that same marketing, from that same experience, I didn't feel the way you felt. I went into this thinking, okay, I take that back. I did think that this movie was going to be centered on the Ice Queen because I knew that the story was originally based on the Ice Queen. But when I went into it, I was not disappointed at all about how the story unfolded. It didn't affect me that way, and I think that's just a difference of how you and I perceived it.
Well, I mean, I agree. But like I said, for me, the bigger part was because I didn't see it in theaters. I had already gotten rid of cable at the time, so I didn't see the trailers on TV or anything. So all I really had to go by was me and Ryan's friends playing the song over and over and over and over. And of course, with the song goes the video of Elsa doing all this magic. And so I was like, well, I want to see this because I'm like, her doing that ice stuff. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then I saw some pictures online, and of course, Elsa's up front, and then it wasn't about her. So like I said, I was disappointed. Not that it's a bad movie. I was just disappointed by it.
Well, I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. But
are there any other trailers that you guys can think of?
Yes, actually, this is where I was gonna go with that.
Thor lies a little bit because they show him with two glowing eyes, and we know that's not the case at the end of the movie
because that was a deliberate mislead.
But it has to be. Let me rephrase that. If they're going to include that scene, it has to be. They could have left that scene out.
Yeah, they didn't need to include that scene, and that's kind of how I feel. And we're going to talk about Thor here in a minute, but because we had some issues when we talked about it last time. But there was actually a movie, and I could be getting the name wrong because, of course, I'm blanking out on everything today. I think it was called The Secret Garden, and
how did that lie?
The advertising and the trailer was about this kid and this kind of fantasy world that he lived in and how he was going to go on this adventure. And that is what kind of you expected going into the movie. And then
I entirely disagree on that.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong about the name of the movie. Maybe it could be a different.
No, you're right. I mean,
but the movie is about a fucking kid that's dying.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, he's not dying.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
He dies at the end of the movie.
What the hell version of Secret Garden did you watch?
I'm not sure we're talking about the same movie. Hold on.
Bootleg version. You got it off Craigslist.
No. I need
Secret Garden is about a boy who is essentially crippled and disabled. He thinks he's dying, and then I think it's his cousins or something go to live with him, and they bring this garden because he's super rich. Well, not him, but his family's super rich, and they have like a castle, so to speak. They find this garden and they bring it back to life by taking care of it and actually doing stuff. And they get him to come out, and him getting outside and involved in this actually essentially brings him back to life, and he actually gets out of his wheelchair and gets better.
Yeah, we're not talking about the same movie. Hold on.
Not only did they bring a garden, Brandon, but they also brought a lot of LSD.
I mean, the Secret Garden's been made. I've seen at least 2 or 3 versions of it.
Yeah, then that's not what I'm talking about. And I'll have to look it up because I don't remember the name of the movie. I couldn't tell you who's in it. I just remember that
another one.
Go ahead.
So another trailer that I would say that lied a little was Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, because it shows. I don't remember which trailer it was. I couldn't say if it's 1, 2, 3, or just a teaser or whatever. It shows them in space, and it shows the Collector flying a spaceship.
That's just a scene that was shot and ultimately edited from the movie. I don't think that's necessarily misleading, because whatever that scene involved didn't move the story forward in the eye of the production crew and the director and the editor, whatever. So they decided it needed to remain on the editing floor.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Yeah,
You see scenes that don't end up in the movie.
I don't think.
And I don't think that is a deliberate lie.
Yes,
or a misdirection from what the plot of the story will be.
Now,
Well,
go ahead, Brandon.
I'm gonna say I wouldn't say it's a deliberate lie. I was just like I was wanting to see that part of it because like I saw them introduce the Collector in the Guardians, and then I'm like, all right, well, where's the scene when he's gonna like be flying a ship and doing stuff, and it just didn't happen. I mean, don't get me wrong, Guardians was fucking great, but I was hoping to see that scene.
Ultimately, doing it in the head of a dead Celestial was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too. However, I want to talk about a movie that's coming up that we're seeing a lot of advertising for that I think is doing this exact same thing, and that is The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is trying to get us to believe that Rey is going to fight and possibly strike down Luke, and I do not think that is the case. They're trying to get us to believe that she's going to turn to Kylo Ren for guidance, and I do not think that is the case. I think they are doing a lot of misdirection in the trailers and the advertising that they are giving us, and I am not cool with that.
I disagree. I disagree about being cool with it. I agree that they're intentionally trying to mislead you because I think they're doing it so that you can't guess what's actually going to happen. And that I'm actually cool with. I want to be surprised.
I'm okay with them not revealing much of the story. I'm not okay with them feeding us a false story.
I don't think that they're feeding a false story because obviously scenes are cut up and edited. It's presented in a way that I'll try to. Well, no, I'm not going to even really say it delicately. I think if you're just dumb enough to go by exactly what's in the trailer, you're gonna be really disappointed.
Yes, I agree, and I think not to be dismissive or insulting, I think that is the majority of the movie-going audience, especially the new fans to Star Wars, people that haven't been following it for years.
Well, it is a little upsetting to me that they are trying to purposely mislead people's assumptions, but they just could not just show that. Just don't show the stuff in the trailer. Then
exactly, everyone's going to see this goddamn movie.
Now, at the same time, though, there has been articles and other things that have led me to believe that she may, for a brief, I'm not saying she's going to strike down Luke, because that I don't think is going to happen, but she may, for a brief time, go dark, and Kylo may come back, because they refer to Daisy and Kylo as the protagonists.
And I'm not sure about that either. I know exactly what you're talking about. In that first full-length trailer we got, Snoke is talking about someone, and it is assumed to be Kylo Ren, but then they cut to a picture of Daisy. Then you got Luke talking about someone. It is assumed to be, I said Daisy, I meant Rey. It's assumed to be Rey, and then they cut to a picture of Kylo Ren. So, and that kind of stuff I'm okay with. The part where Rey is standing up with her lightsaber drawn and Luke is on the ground going, "This is not going to go how you think." That to me is not that's not representative of what we're going to see in the film. The part where she says, "I need someone to guide me and show me what my place is," and all this, and you see Kylo Ren extending his hand, I don't think that's representative of the film. And you saw how I reacted to that trailer. I geeked the fuck out. I thought it was so crazy when I saw it. And if that's what happens, I'm probably going to geek the fuck out again. But I don't think that's what's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. But like I said, I think that Kylo is going to, maybe not even in this movie, but I think he's going to actually come back to the light, because I can't see why they would refer to Kylo as a protagonist.
I don't know if Kylo can come back from killing Han, man.
Well,
Man,
why would they? refer to him as a protagonist, not the
I
antagonist.
understand what you're saying, but still, I don't know if he can come back from that.
He doesn't have to come back all the way.
I'm not talking about coming to the light side. I'm talking about coming back as a character where people are going to accept him. He killed off one of the most beloved characters in this saga.
Not even just the saga. Just
He could die.
in friggin' sci-fi period.
And you know what? If he died, I'd be okay with that. I don't think he can come back from killing Han Solo.
He could pull an Anakin. He could come back and then
But
die.
What if he saves Luke?
It'd be too convenient, and it'd be too reminiscent of the previous story, which is what people accuse the first movie of being, and I don't want that. I want this to go in a different direction.
All right. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm super excited to see it, but I just
so am I. I'm going to see it more.
It's just I still like little things that I read. Just I want to know where it's going, and now they're doing a 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah. Well, my opinion about 10, 11, and 12 is it's. I think the Skywalker storyline is going to end here in this trilogy,
unless Rey, and I don't know she is, but unless it's revealed that Rey is a Skywalker,
God, you know,
her story into the others.
At this point, I hope she's not. I really hope she's not a Skywalker, because there's so much more to the Star Wars universe that could be explored. I think it's time to let the Skywalker saga come to its end, to come to its conclusion. You know, there's always going to be a meaningful chapter in the Star Wars universe, but I think it's time for them to explore other stuff. I really don't want them to go on with the Skywalkers.
We always get caught. It seems like the fan base, and I mean, I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure you guys are too, get caught up with the whole prophecy. The whole prophecy about Anakin and then Luke. And it's tied around the Skywalker family.
The prophecy has I mean, a little bit to do with Luke, but it's really just Anakin, because he did bring balance to the Force just as Darth Vader.
Right. When he ends up killing the Emperor. Why
wasn't there? All right, that bringing balance to the Force is arbitrary. It's super.
Well, that's
arbitrary.
the prophecy. That's the prophecy, was that he would bring balance, and he did. He fulfilled the prophecy.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't know what to say. I don't know. I just think that it's arbitrary to say, oh, he brought balance to the Force. So what? There was always only, since Darth Bane, there was supposed to be only the rule of two in the Sith.
Darth Bane is not a character.
He was canon until Disney bought it.
Wrong. Whoa.
Did they bring him back?
In Star Wars Rebels, they referenced Darth Bane, and it's not a major thing, but they brought him back, and Rebels is canon. So Darth Bane exists in canon. Now, whether or not his story exists, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, whether they keep the story or not, but those 3 books were damn good, and it made me love Darth Bane that much more. But anyway, that's not pertinent,
right?
But the rule of two says there's the master and the apprentice, and if there was a master on the light side, Yoda and Luke, then there we already had balance.
Wait, what? The balance was between the light and the dark, not
Well, the balance is also between the number of users using the Force on either side.
I disagree on the number of users.
I can't agree on that. I'm sorry.
I would say that it has to do with an actual power balance. If you have someone who is super strong and a really weak character, and then you have 3 moderately strong characters, that's balanced.
Yeah, if you had 2 really super strong characters on one side and no strong characters on the other, that's obviously out of balance.
But then we're going to get into a whole DBZ-esque argument about power level, because and it's going to make it kind of moot. It's
we'll get to that part later.
Because we don't see any power. We don't see any extreme uses of power in the movies in the franchise like you get in the video game series, like with Star Killer.
That is entirely false, because in episode 7 is where you see the you start seeing the extreme stuff. A lot of people called Kylo Ren weak. That is entirely not true. One, he stopped the blaster with the Force and held it there while talking.
I'm
And
talking about the
you've never
original
seen that
trilogy.
before.
And then number 2, you saw, and everyone knows that Chewbacca's bowcaster is insanely powerful. He shoots a stormtrooper and it knocked like 2 of them like 20 feet back. He shoots Kylo. Kylo only takes a knee.
Does he even do that?
True. I will grant you that Kylo is really powerful.
He held his side, took a knee, and then got back up and was, all right, I'm going to fight.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there are examples of really powerful and I think what Ryan's trying to reference is like in
Force Unleashed.
The Force Unleashed, when Starkiller pulls a fucking Star Destroyer out of orbit.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
because
you're
in
right.
terms of the original trilogy, you don't see any extreme. I mean, other than Force Lightning.
Yeah, you're right. We never saw anything super extreme like that. The things we did see was a old, frail character like Yoda being able to effortlessly raise a ship out of the swamp, to effortlessly stop a cave from crumbling and falling on other Jedi and killing them. There were hints of power. We've never seen any extreme examples of that use of power. I think we're going to get that in this trilogy.
Oh, I certainly hope so. And I really want to see Luke wreck shit.
Yes. And to go back to what Brandon was saying, when he stops that laser bolt in the air and holds it there, that's something we've never seen before. That is by far, in my opinion, the most extremely powerful use of the Force we've ever seen on screen.
Yeah.
Right. So
he does it, and he does other things, and he takes care of other shit, and he's still holding that bolt in his mind without putting his hand up or doing any kind of like bullshit like that. He's not continuously like, all right, kill everybody now.
Yeah, he's just using his mind. Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get more of that. I hope we're going to get more of that. And to agree with you, Brandon, I want to see Luke Skywalker wreck shop. I have a dream scenario in my mind that I don't want to get into here because it's just going to derail us and make us
very, very, very much so.
So, but I'll talk to you about that later. But we're going to go ahead and move on from this because it's just, there's just the idea is the marketing really needs to be representative of what the film is going to show you without giving away too much. And I think that's not too much to ask. I think they've done it in the past, and I think they've swung too far to the other side into showing you either showing you exactly what's going to happen or making you think one thing is going to happen in order to quote unquote shock you in the film, which really isn't necessary. So that being said, we are going to talk about Thor Ragnarok some more because last week we had some issues with the cast and the conversation sort of got truncated. So we're going to kind of recap what we thought and cover some of the things that we didn't. If you saw last week or if you didn't see last week, rather, I should say, I am the dissenting voice here. I did not like this movie. I was really unhappy about it. Not to say
has that changed?
I haven't seen it again yet.
Okay.
I've seen it twice now, and as of my second screening, I was still unhappy with this film. I thought the tone of the film was way off. I thought it was a parody of itself, and I was really unhappy. That being said, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. And Brandon, I'll let you go ahead and take it from here.
Well, like I said last week, I really loved it. I loved the douchebaggery. I loved the comedy. I loved the action. I loved seeing Thor wreck shop. I loved pretty much everything about the movie. A couple of things that we didn't really, or at least I didn't get to talk about last week was Scourge was one. Honestly, I don't know if I just was blind during the trailers, or if he just wasn't in them to speak of. But I was surprised by who played him. I was like, oh shit, that's Bones.
Right. So Scourge, who he's talking about, is the character that takes over for Heimdall once Heimdall is outed by Odin, who is actually Loki. I said something, and I believe I was wrong about this when I said it, even though you guys pointed it out. I said that he had the vision of Heimdall. I don't think that is the case anymore. I think you're right. I think the technology is what allowed him to see what was going on, not the vision that Heimdall has, which relates to whether or not Heimdall has the Soul Stone in him, but that's a whole nother conversation. I thought he was a interesting character. I thought he got too little screen time to develop who he was, because he really was the kind of person. He was almost like, and being how much I love the series I'm about to reference, I think this says a lot. I think he was almost like Malcolm Reynolds in Firefly, in the sense that he always put himself on the side that was going to come out on top, as opposed to Malcolm Reynolds, who had a sense of right and wrong. This guy didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Malcolm wouldn't have executed anyone.
No, but he always put himself in the position to come out ahead, to come out forward.
Except
and
when he was in the brown coats.
Except when that was where his quote unquote failings were. But this guy he was an opportunist. He was just kind of like, well, whoever's in power is the person I'm going to serve.
Yeah, he had an extreme self-interest.
Right.
Yeah. And if you don't get the reference, Ryan, because I don't know if you're one of the people who hasn't seen it in our D&D group, but Firefly is Malcolm Reynolds.
Yeah,
well,
I've seen Firefly.
Well, then it's Mark.
It's Mark. It's Mark who hasn't seen it. Mark hasn't seen a lot.
So that character, I think, like the way they used him, I think he could have done a lot more. I think he could have been a lot. There could have been a lot more development as to who he was and why he did the things he did. But the way he was portrayed in the film, he was just kind of like a two-dimensional. Well, this is the way things are going now, so this is how. He
reminded me of Cord, but less funny, and he just didn't really serve a purpose to the story.
He at least got his redemption at the end.
Yeah,
and I was glad about that. I was glad, like when he finally turns and decides to help them, I was like, well, at least he went out on top.
And even though he was going to do it, I did like that he really, really did not want to execute the person. He's like, please, someone say something so I don't have to do this.
Right, but it showed. I think that actually showed how spineless he was.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, granted, but it gave him more of a moral compass.
Yeah, you showed that he wasn't completely bad, but he was definitely all about himself.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, that's why he was helping Loki.
Right. I really don't think there's a whole lot more to say about that. Something that we had talked about before things went south in the last episode was the fight between Thor and Hulk.
Which Thor won.
Thor and Hulk. Well, we'll get to that. Thor and Hulk. The fight between Thor and Hulk was excellent. I thought it was really good. I think it was something that everybody's been waiting to see since the first Avengers. Okay. I don't think there was a definitive winner in this film. I will say, after the fight is over, Thor is depicted as being unconscious. Hulk is not.
That's
However,
true, but that's because he had that device in his neck and it was used on him to make him.
I disagree, because the very last thing we see in the fight is Hulk coming down to punch Thor. Thor raises his hand and catches his fist. Then the screen goes black. We don't know what happened after he caught his fist. And we all know Thor is completely capable of stopping Hulk's punches because he did it in the first Avengers.
No, he is, but he might not be capable of it when he's being electrocuted or whatever it is. I don't necessarily know if electrocute is the right word because I mean Thor's the god of thunder. I think it's probably
Yeah.
more some kind of nanobots or whatever. Because
But
the same kind of device was used on Hulk and Planet Hulk, and it's knocked Hulk out.
my point is, while everything you are saying is correct, we don't know what happened. We were not. I'm kind of trying to get at the fact that we don't have a definitive answer as to who won the fight. I don't think that scene says Hulk is the winner, or I'm sorry, that Thor is the winner.
No, it doesn't. However, what like I brought up in our last conversation about, and I think Ryan will agree here, Thor got the better hits in. He did great in that fight.
Oh yeah.
And until he got electrocuted, he was dominating at that point.
Okay, yes, I will say that. So if we were going to score this like a boxing match, okay, in the first few rounds, Thor had all of the winning hits. He was ahead by points. Hulk does come back, and he Loki's him, as I like to call it, when he smacks him around by the feet, and he ends up making this giant leap and coming down to hit Thor. And I think the assumption was supposed to be that Hulk knocked Thor out, and I don't think that's the case.
What do you think, Ryan? I mean, I think because they don't show the quote unquote knockout, I'm gonna have to go by points and say Thor won that fight.
Okay, all right. I think Hulk would have won that fight just because of pure power. I love Thor, and I love seeing Thor fight the Hulk, but Thor doesn't have a fully developed Odin Force or Thor
That's
Force.
true.
And because they took elements from Planet Hulk, which is what leads into World War Hulk, where Hulk becomes World Breaker Hulk and like destroys shit. Like he becomes the most powerful version of Hulk that we've seen in the comics from the end of Planet Hulk. Yes, I know you've read Planet Hulk. Did you read World War Hulk?
Yep.
No, I didn't read World War Hulk.
No, I did. And yeah, he is on par with Thanos at that point in terms of brute strength.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, his power level. And it's because of what happened at the end of World War of Planet Hulk, where he gets married and whatever and has like a family, and then hit the spaceship that Tony Stark sent him on explodes and kills his wife, and then he gets super pissed.
Yeah, he really quote unquote hulks out. Okay, and one of the things that and I think I understand this from a filmmaking standpoint is one of the things about the Hulk is the defining thing about his power is the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. And
they can't show that because they want to restrict how much power they show in the films.
Well, they have to
with one exception, at least in the comics, because Sad Hulk is stronger.
I can't speak to that.
Neither can I.
We talked about this, Ryan. Me, you, and Steven. So the Hulk got sad in the comics at one point, and he's like, "Please don't make me," or like, "Please don't make me sad. You won't like it." And he does, and the Hulk turns into another being and is way stronger than the Hulk.
Oh, I know I know where you're going with this. But in terms of power, I think that the the comment section can correct me if I'm wrong, that World War Hulk, and it shows like the most powerful version of the Hulk so far.
Yeah, I can't speak to Sad Hulk. I'm not familiar with that whole storyline, so I'll have to take your word for it on that one. But but that's something.
Yeah, back to Ragnarok.
So the whole.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the fight is kind of moot to determine a winner, because from a filmmaking standpoint, they can't show, or they want to limit how much they show.
Yeah, and I
him
think
getting angry because it's going to upset fans.
Yeah, they didn't want us to have a definitive winner because they want that rivalry to keep going.
And it's way funnier to see them bitching
Oh,
at
no,
each
yes,
other about,
for sure.
oh,
I'm
me
just-
raging fire, you like little fire.
Yeah, smoldering fire, right? So that was, I thought that was by far the best Hulk action, I take that back, the best Hulk Thor action we've gotten on screen. I still think the best Hulk action is when he hulks out in New York City in the first Avengers.
And punches the shit out of that Leviathan.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think that was, I mean, it may not show his strength as much as this movie did, but I think the way it impacted the story was much more intense. So then there were certain characters that we didn't talk about, like Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's true. We did forget about Valkyrie last
I
week.
really liked the character of Valkyrie. I did not like the forced romantic tension between the two of them.
I like the character that they have in the movie. I disagree with just calling her Valkyrie, I guess.
She was a Valkyrie.
Right. Because so in the movie, in her flashback, her leader with the blonde hair,
Mhm.
that's supposed to be Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie, right. But she is the only one that survived that battle with Hela.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I get all that, and I'm fine with it. I like I said, I was expecting the character to be more like the comic, and it wasn't, which is fine. I understand changes, and I'm cool with changes. That it was just, I was just hoping differently, and maybe I was kind of hoping that they might have called her a little differently, other than just Valkyrie.
It's Valkyrie, right? Well, I think the idea was Thor was supposed to be kind of fanboying out about the fact that she was a Valkyrie, the same way Agent Coulson fanboyed over Captain America in the Avengers, and it just didn't work out that way. It didn't have that kind of it wasn't as funny as his was, and when they tried to make it a romantic thing, that just did not work for me at all. As a character, I thought she was badass.
I was okay with the romance because I did not like Jane at all in the previous two movies.
Just because it's everything's a better love story than fucking sparkly vampire werewolf movie.
Oh, but it's still a better romance love story than Twilight.
Twilight, yes, but just because it's better than Twilight doesn't make it good.
I didn't say it was better than Twilight. I'm talking about Jane. Fucking.
Oh wait, so you don't think it was better than Twilight?
I think it obviously is better than Twilight, but I think the spark and romance between Valkyrie and him, I think they suit each other better than he and Jane from Thor 1 and 2.
If you wanted to go that route, I would say Lady Sif was the best match for Thor, who wasn't even in this movie, by the way.
True, which I'm actually glad for because they killed the rest of them.
Right. So Lady Sif is out there somewhere.
They did the call to arms, and she was washing her hair at the time.
She could quite possibly end up being back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and helping them escape from space.
Yeah, possibly. Which is something I'm gonna have to catch up on when that.
I mean, she could have been off planet. I mean, off Asgard.
Well, we know she's off Asgard.
We know she's off Asgard, but like, where was she? Like, no mention of her whatsoever. There's no.
Well, I don't think there needs to be. They showed the rest of them, and the rest died because she's not there.
Okay, so what the hell's his name? The guy that's like Robin Hood, played by Zachary Levi.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either, but either way, I think people should know who we're talking about.
He dies like a bitch in this movie.
Most of them die like a bitch.
I did not like the way they killed him off. What's that?
Oh, you mean he died? The one who died from Hela, like kind of.
Yeah, they all died from Hela.
They all died from Hela.
The one who put up the
one
best
who
fight
stood
was the Asian guy. I don't remember his name. He's the one who put up the best fight out of all of them.
Yeah. Other than that, they kind of went out like bitches, and it was just like, what? And like, these guys are supposed to be, the Warriors 3, the baddest of the bad, next to Thor, and and they just went out like that. I didn't like it. I did not like that at all. Some other things I
He
didn't
was
like.
overwhelming Thor. Other than him going like Raiden.
But at least Thor put up a fight. These
Yeah.
guys didn't put up a fight at all.
I don't think they were well prepared. I don't think they knew who they were going up against.
That's true as well. They probably thought that they were probably like, I don't really need to go full force. This is just some chick. I'm gonna knock her out now. Oh
I
shit,
don't
I'm
know.
dead.
So there was, and I think we talked about this in the last show, and I don't remember whether or not this made it onto the one that actually aired. But like they had that moment where Hela shows up and she's about to wreck shop, and the Asgardian army is like, "Well, who the fuck are you?" Like, like it was supposed to be this funny moment that didn't work.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
And
I felt that it kind of fell flat and it diminished her badassery.
right, like they built her up, and then suddenly this fucking regimental soldier from nowhere was like, "Well, who the hell are you, and why should we care?"
She goes, "Oh, didn't you just listen?"
Yeah. And like that's the kind of stuff I didn't like about this movie. I just thought that the overall tone of the film didn't suit the Ragnarok story. I thought
I'm okay with it. I love the comedy aspect.
I'm gonna see it again after I see Justice League.
Watch What We Do in the Dark first, and then
I've seen
watch
What We Do in the
Ragnarok.
Dark. I
I
love
know.
it.
I'm just saying, watch that again.
Yeah.
Before you see Ragnarok, and then you'll just be like,
And-
all right.
What we do in the dark?
Yeah, so before Thor came out, I actually mentioned this. The director that made Thor directed a movie called What We Do in the Dark, and it's fucking hilarious.
What We Do in the Shadows, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. What We Do in the Shadows. And before seeing the movie, I was really excited about the fact that Taika Waititi was directing this film because I wanted to see that comedy mixed in with the gravity of Thor. And what I feel happened is that comedy just kind of took over Thor and made Thor a parody of himself. And that's my biggest complaint about this movie. I
feel like the Thor movies had a serious weight to them that the other Marvel movies that never really carried along with them. And the comedy that Taika Waititi brought in more mirrored what Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man tried doing with
in those
bringing
movies,
comedy into it.
It was balanced. I don't think it was balanced in this movie. I think the scales tip heavily in favor of comedy over the dramatic tension.
What dramatic tension did you have in Ant-Man? They fought on a giant on a train set in his daughter's room, and it showed the train going choo choo.
When I say this, it's gonna sound stupid because of the words I'm using, not because of the actions. Okay, he bonded with Antony, the one ant that he rode that flew and rescued him and all this other stuff.
And Korg saved Doug, even though he almost stepped on him.
And Antony gets shot. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, they just killed Antony. And I was mad. And I was like, dude, go kill him. That moment, as silly as it sounds when describing it, an ant getting shot, had weight to it. And it affected me as a viewer. And it made me more invested in the story as to what was going to happen going forward. I wanted him to kick Yellow Jacket's ass because he just killed Antony. I didn't get any of that from Thor. There was nothing that happened in Thor. Even when they killed the Warriors 3, like I said, they kind of went out like bitches, and it wasn't really impactful. It was just kind of like that scene in fucking Revenge of the Sith, where the Emperor kills off 3 Jedi like they weren't even standing there. That just kind of pissed me off. I don't think it's the right portrayal of it, and that is why I this whole movie just didn't sit well with me. And I am going to watch it again. I'm going to see it again to make sure that I'm not just butthurt about the fact that it's more of a comedy than it is an action. But I don't think it's going to change my opinion at this point.
All right. Well, what do we have next?
Okay. All right. So there's one thing I just want to kind of go on a rant on, and this will be very quick. the reviews for Justice League are out, and god damn it, I'm so angry because they're trying to portray it as the majority of critics slamming this movie, right? And the critics that they cited just were bitching about the dumbest, most contradictory shit that pissed me off. So, like, they complained about the fact that this movie. So they didn't. Okay, let me take a step back. They didn't just complain about Justice League. They're complaining about the DCEU as a whole, and they just went into it wanting to hate on the DCEU, and I think they carried that forward onto Justice League because Justice League is a much more lighthearted film than any of the other DCEU films were. And I'll tell you, I liked Man of Steel. I did not hate Batman versus Superman the way it was, even though it's probably the worst rendition of that particular story.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You said that they thought it was more lighthearted than other DC movies so far?
No. I'm saying it is more lighthearted. And I'm getting...
Well, what did the critics say about it being lighthearted?
They were bitching. And let me get to my point, and I'll explain. This is all going to come together. Okay? So they were complaining about the fact that this movie is... and this is why I actually took a step back. They were complaining about the DCEU as a whole. They call it joyless. They call it too dark. They call it, not fun, right? And a lot of the time what they're saying is the DCEU is not like the MCU. It's not fun to watch. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I'm okay with these darker storylines in the DCEU. But Zack Snyder, who's been at the helm of a lot of these films for a while now, had to depart from Justice League. And when that happened, unfortunately, because what happened was his daughter killed herself, and he wanted to step back and take time with his family, and I think that's completely commendable. But when that happened, they were also in the midst of trying to course correct because so many people were complaining about the dark tone of the DCEU. So they brought in Joss Whedon. What did Joss Whedon make? Joss Whedon made Avengers 1 and 2. These very good superhero movies that were lighthearted and funny. So you have this dark tone mixed in with the levity that Joss Whedon brings into it. And now they're bitching about that. They're complaining that it's a poor attempt at replicating what the Avengers and what Marvel has done, when before they were complaining that the movies weren't enough like Marvel and the Avengers. And it's kind of like, shut the fuck up. You're contradicting yourself. You don't even know what you're saying. Go into this movie and just watch it for what it is, and then make a judgment. Don't try to say this movie isn't what I wanted it to be or isn't what it should have been, because that's the kind of stuff that I did like with Star Trek, because I'm a fucking fanboy of Star Trek, right? I didn't like the way they treated Star Trek, and that's what pissed me off about it. This movie is a reversal of what they've been complaining about so far, and now they're complaining about the reversal, and I think it's just bullshit, and I think people should just watch it and make their judgments on their own merits, on their own experience with the film, and not what these asshole career critics have been doing.
Well,
and I'm not saying all critics.
Some of them honestly don't know what the hell they're talking about either, because they don't know the characters. Like, for example, I have a friend who was complaining about the trailers, and he's like, all of Flash's jokes are stupid. It's too lighthearted and too stupid. I'm like, that's the Flash, man.
Yeah, that's the way the character is, and that's why Marvel has been so successful, in my opinion, particularly with the Avengers, because the people that made the movies had a reverence for the source material. They didn't stick to the source stories. A lot of people had some complaints about that, but the source material, the source characters, they understood who these characters were, and they applied the characters to a slightly different scenario, slightly different reality. These characters are now coming in more true to form. And even Brandon, you complained about Batman, it's like, well, Batman doesn't kill. Well, Batman originally, he did kill.
Since they essentially rebooted the universe, doesn't.
Well, it's the thing. The point is it doesn't follow the same continuity as the comic books at the time, and Marvel's doing the same thing.
Right. And what
Kind of. Even if you look at the current continuity of
Ragnarok's completely
Person-
different.
no, the stories are different, yes, but the characters are essentially the same kind of personality that they have.
They
same
make it
moral
more.
compass that
They
they have.
amplify the more realness. Realness. I know. Like the Flash. The Flash thinks faster than other people, and he in the comic book he is more quick-witted and more prone to making jokes or whatever. The version they're showing in the in the Justice League is a more realistic version. The way that he talks.
Oh no,
You
for
can
sure,
get that in the trailer.
I'm fine with that in the trailer. My issue is that regardless of current story or what story they want to go with, even if it's for Batman versus Superman, was the fact that the current Batman, going back years now, even doesn't kill, and he did, just shot people. Now, granted, maybe 20, 30 years ago, Batman killed people. Okay, fine, but he doesn't anymore, and the universe has been rebooted since in the
But
comics. Granted,
in the story that we're presented with in the movies, different events have occurred differently than they have in the comic book.
and I also just have a problem with Ben Affleck.
Oh, I like Ben Affleck. Batman.
Like I told Jose, I can see him as a Batman. I don't see him as the Prime Universe Batman.
Well, he's not the Prime Universe Batman. At least I don't assume he is.
That's
I
what they're
can't
calling
say.
this, is the Prime Universe. Yep. Choices in their words make a difference.
The choices that they say outside of the movie is stupid, and they've been doing that a lot.
But those words and things that they decide to use make a difference. Now, if they never said any of that, like I told Jose, I was like, this is actually fine then, because I'm under the assumption then that this is not the Prime Universe, and that's actually a fine thing to have. Then I'm cool with it.
Because unlike
a Prime Universe, I'm like, that's bullshit.
Because my opinion is probably not a very popular one, because everyone loves Chris Nolan Batman. Everyone loves Chris Nolan Batman.
Oh, I liked the first two.
I tolerated Christopher Nolan's Batman because I hated his voice, and I love what they're doing.
But his voice is realistic.
Listen, what they're doing in the new Batman is way more realistic, to have it electronically modified. For a guy who has the most awesome technology and has a fucking bat wing, he can't digitally alter his voice. He has to speak deeper because
he's not. I don't see. He's not even
disguise
speaking
who I
deeper.
am.
That's what people aren't even thinking of. Literally, if you push back on some of your not your uvula.
Hey, you know what he should have done? He should have put it on and said, "Hey, man,
your Adam's apple.
This hurts my throat. Redesign the cowl." He could.
Hold on.
But
you guys are arguing.
Thing.
Wait, you guys are arguing over the reality of how they would alter his voice in a universe where Superman puts on glasses and no one knows who he is.
Yeah, I know. I realize it's stupid. I realize it's stupid. And
no, they explain that in the comics at least. They explain that in the comics at least, that he has essentially some kind of magical power. I know it's not actual magic because he doesn't have magic, but it's some kind of mind trick, so to speak, that makes people forget.
Okay, we're not talking about the comics though. We're talking about the movies.
I know. But
So,
however, that being said, to try to get back on point, I liked Man of Steel. Batman vs Superman was okay. I hated Suicide Squad. I was a pile of garbage.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you that Suicide was a bad film. I still had fun watching it.
I did too.
Not.
I had the fun that you watch and the fun that you have when you watch bad movies.
Yeah, it was. I was still okay with. I still had a good time in the theater with what I saw. Was it good? No, it was not by any stretch of the imagination.
And
But
then Wonder Woman was wonderful.
Wonder Woman was great, but I still think Man of Steel was a better movie. Wonder Woman was just more engaging and had a wider appeal.
All right.
I'm on the opposite. I think Wonder Woman was the better movie. Man of Steel was more enjoyable because you actually got to see Superman be Superman.
I don't know. I disagree.
Because Ryan, what were you going to say?
All right, what I'm going to say is hearkening back to a little bit of what Jose was talking about with the critics' opinion and how comparing it to Marvel and whatever bullshit that they're doing. I felt like Wonder Woman actually had a lot more humor than people were giving it credit for after months after seeing it. People, because I was laughing in a lot of parts in Wonder Woman, like whenever they're on the boat talking about sex and shit. Like I was laughing during that conversation, and that conversation was like, "Oh man, that's pretty lighthearted." And then whenever they were in the baths, or whenever what's his name was in the bath, on the island,
like, "What's that?"
Yeah, she's like, "What's that?" And you expect, "Oh, it's talking about his penis because she's never seen a penis before." No, it's watch, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, the movie had a lot of humor in it, and it was appropriate humor. It was things that you would expect to experience if that character was a real person. It wasn't forced.
Yeah, it was, and that's the kind of humor that you kind of get in Marvel movies, like with Ant-Man and Guardians.
I'm willing to bet that's the kind of humor we're going to get in Justice League. And I think that's what they're bitching about, and that's where I have issue.
So they love it in Wonder Woman, but they don't like it in Justice League. They're assholes.
Right. I have a feeling. So in terms of the DCEU, which by the way, DCEU is not an official title. They've never called it that. That's something that the fans coined. But for the DCEU, my favorite film is a toss-up between Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, because I thought they were both so good in different ways. But I'm almost certain my solid number 3 is going to be Justice League. I say number 3 because if it's a tie for 1 and 2, 2 can't be there.
I'll have to see.
Well, we will see tomorrow.
Well, I won't see it tomorrow.
I could probably see it Friday night.
Well, I'm not going to get into how many times I plan on seeing it, but I'm going to see it more than once. But and that's that. Somebody posted an article today about that, and it just kind of pissed me off. And I wrote my little rant on Facebook, and I just wanted to touch on that today. So we're going to go ahead and switch to TV, and we are going to talk about the Orville, which Brandon is going to take the lead on. Brandon, go ahead and let's.
So there's been a 3 episodes, I believe, since we last saw it. The first in order of which was probably the silliest episode, actually, that they've done so far. They are, they're explorers, and they find a planet that's very similar to Earth. It essentially has humans, or at least they look like a human. But the society has evolved. It's making fun of what we have today with upvotes and downvotes and likes and dislikes. So the society revolves. That is their justice system. If someone's a douchebag, everyone has to wear essentially a badge that has an up arrow and a down arrow. And if you get too many downvotes, you go to jail. And then there's like a TV thing.
Oh my God.
Where they're like, oh, well, here's what happened, and people of course recorded it with their phone, and here's what happened. Here's what he did. This guy was fake humping a statue. Let's see if he gets to 1 million.
Not just any statue.
Yeah, it was not just any statue. It was the statue that. So you did see it.
Yeah, I saw it earlier today.
Okay, so yeah, it was not just any statue. It was like the person who started the whole thing, or I forget what it was. It was something stupid, and
it was a celebrated historical figure.
Yeah. But the reason why they celebrate it is stupid.
That reminds me. I haven't seen the episode.
So he does that, but if someone gets to 1 million downvotes, they get lobotomized.
10 million.
You're right, 10 million. If they get to 10 million downvotes, they get lobotomized. That's their justice system. They don't actually have lawyers. It is all by the public's retarded opinion on it.
That reminds me of Black Mirror.
Um,
Have you seen that show?
No, I haven't.
In the
No.
third season, it starts out with like a society that works with social media.
Yeah,
so
and that's exactly what this is. And I haven't seen Black Mirror. A lot of people have told me I really, really need to. But this is a social commentary on the use of social media and how it's affecting our lives currently. And I think that's a testament to how good this show is in ways that people weren't expecting.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I didn't dislike the episode, but it was by far the silliest episode so far.
I think, and you're right, it was a very silly episode, but I think the commentary it was making was not.
No, it was not. For sure. The point they were trying to get across was very serious. They just did it in a very silly manner.
Yeah, and they even made the
honestly,
joke about,
it needed to be done in a silly manner because of how it's actually evolving on social media. It is very silly.
Yes, and they actually made the one joke about how back on Earth in the 21st century they had a show where people voted on who the best singer was, and the one character says why, and he's like, we don't know, it was a dark time.
American Idol.
Yeah, and that's how I feel that way right now. I think it is a dark time for television and that kind of stuff. But it was an interesting commentary on social media, which is why I really like the show. I think the show is outdoing any expectation anyone had for it.
The next two episodes I actually really enjoyed. The one after that had to do with the
I'm going to take my headset off.
Okay.
Let me know when you're done.
So the next episode had to do with the doctor and her children. They're going to go on a vacation to like some like a theme park planet, so to speak. And the kids are being brats and stuff. Not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to get ready and stuff. Well, I mean, the real little one super excited, but the older one didn't really care. And she was expecting one of the pilots of the Orville to go with her and pilot the shuttle to the area. And that didn't happen. It ended up being the robot. And the robot is kind of douchey at first. He's like, oh, I'm better and your kids are assholes and you should discipline them more because they're not listening to you. Then they get into an accident. They crash land on a planet. But all the interaction that she gets separated. So I'll say that first. But all the interaction between the robot and the two children ends up humanizing the robot more. And I actually really enjoyed that. They end up, all in all, they end up getting back safely and everything. And it was well done, I think. It gave the robot more personality. And he actually sympathizes and actually cared or came to care for the children. The episode after that was very funny, actually. So Ryan, I think if you remember when we mentioned that the captain of the Orville became captain because his wife cheated on him at some point with like a blue alien, and his semen or whatever came out of his forehead. So their mission at the beginning of the episode is to go meet these two races that live on a planet, not this guy's race, just two random races that they're always warring with each other, and they're supposed to mediate. And they found some artifact on the planet, and they want to have an archaeologist come inspect the artifact to determine who the original race on the planet was, because they've had an agreement that whoever the original race was, the other one would leave, and that's who would claim the planet.
And neither of them were.
No, the archaeologist who comes to inspect the device is the guy she cheated on him with. And so apparently, I mean, I called it out pretty early. I mean, it becomes pretty obvious, but his race puts out some kind of pheromones. So that's number one. That's the reason she cheated, was because he just has these pheromones that come out. And also, he becomes infatuated and sleeps with them too. They're like both fighting each other over who gets to love him more. It was great, but the scene was literally replayed out because he was very angry at first that he was on board, and then they're trying to get a hold of her for some reason, and he's like, "Well, where the hell is she?" "Oh, she's in her room right now." "Well, why isn't she where she's supposed to be?" He goes on, rings her bell or whatever, and she doesn't answer, so he just opens up the door and walks in, and it's the same scene all over again. She's in bed, and like she's like, "Oh shit," and then he uncovers himself, and the scene just pops all over again everywhere, and it's just like he's super pissed and runs out of there. And then when he tries to talk to him about it, he releases the pheromones, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, you're not such a bad guy," And there's like, his co-pilot friend is like, "Are you into him?" He's like, "Not yet."
Oh, I gotta watch that episode.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was very, very well done. It's this episode was probably what people were expecting via the trailers of the initial part of the series. I don't think it's actually going to continue like that, because there were actual serious aspects of the episode, but that scenario was hilarious. Jose.
All right. So that was Brandon's recap of the Orville. I'm looking forward to seeing the episodes, which is why I kind of ducked out there because I didn't want to get them spoiled for me. But next we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, and I'm going to speed through this a little bit because we've been going for about 2 hours. But
now I'm going to take my headset off.
All righty. So the last episode that we saw, or that we discussed, was actually when the main character Michael expressed a father-daughter relationship with Sarek, who is Spock's father, and I had a really big problem with that. And then they gave us a preview where they really insinuated time travel was going to be used heavily in the story, and they were not wrong, but they did it in a way that I did not expect, and I actually really enjoyed. They did what's called a temporal time loop, where they repeated the same amount of time over and over and over. And the story was the villain that they met in the Klingon prison had access to this technology, and he was trying to find a way to take over the ship so he could sell it to the Klingons. And the way he did this was he locked them in a time loop, very much the same way Doctor Strange does at the end of the movie. So they experience the same time over and over and over. So he has basically an infinite amount of time to learn about how this ship works so he can steal it, essentially. Right. And what he doesn't count on is there's this one character who's being affected by a concoction that he injected in a previous episode that allows him to control the way the ship travels. He realizes that they're stuck in a time loop, and he's trying to convince people of what's going on, and they kind of think he's crazy, but he finally gets through to them, and the way the episode works out, they were able to defeat him. But the episode itself wasn't bad, but it was kind of a self-contained throwaway episode, if you will. But I'm just relieved that they did not use time travel as this Deus Ex Machina, where everything was going to be resolved because of the fact that they were able to travel through time. I did not want to see that. But moving forward, they actually went and they explored another planet because they found a resource that we're going to try to exploit in order to give them advantage in this war. And they found out that the resource or the planet that they were looking to exploit actually does not have or did have intelligent life on it, just not life that they were expecting. And it affects one of the characters in such a way that he's going to try to sabotage the mission to keep the Federation from involving this planet, because they find that this planet is in complete harmony. They are at peace, and he doesn't think that should be disturbed. But not only that, his species is a prey species. So his instincts are to act as prey. He's never known life without fear until he experiences this planet, because this planet is in complete harmony. So it shows some good interaction between the two characters, and the story's done really well. And Star Trek Discovery, I think, is a very solid, very good Star Trek universe, or Star Trek show, I should say. I'm really enjoying it. And then the last episode is actually the mid-season finale, where they encounter they show that one of the admirals has been captured by the Klingons, and one of the Klingon heads of houses actually maneuvers himself into a position where they can torture the admiral for answers, and in doing so, she's able to get herself alone with the admiral and expresses her desire to defect to the Federation, which is something they weren't expecting. So it kind of, it's this whole political aspect of it, which is something I've always liked in Star Trek. The other side of that story is they find a way to detect cloaked Klingon ships using the technology of the spores that they're using to travel through space, and they're able to basically turn the tide against the Klingons in this particular episode. But it also ends in such a way that the person that they're using to control the drive in this ship is no longer able to do so because it's having a negative effect on him. So they don't have this spore drive anymore at this point, right? So you don't know what's going to happen to him. You don't know what's going to happen to the ship, and they're going to make one more jump so that they can go back to their base and treat this guy and settle all the issues that have been going on. But of course, something goes wrong. So they end up in the middle of this debris field, and they don't know where they are. And that's kind of where the episode ends. It's kind of like a cliffhanger, and they're not coming back until January. Overall, I'm really happy with the show. I'm really happy with the direction it took. I'm really happy with the performances. I think the production value of the show is great. I think it is true to form of what I consider classic Star Trek to be. And I'm really looking forward to finding out what's going to happen in the upcoming seasons. So I know that was kind of abbreviated, but like I said, we've been going on for a while. So Brandon, you can put your headphones back on now. Let's see if he sees us.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. So I kind of did my little recap of what's going on so far with Discovery, and we were going to talk about The Gifted and Inhumans, but we just, life happens. So we didn't have time to catch up on those, but we will be getting to those in our upcoming episodes. But what we have been doing in this time, part of the reason we haven't caught up on many of these episodes, is we've been playing Destiny 2. And I think this is where Ryan and Brandon are really going to shine here. So I will let you guys talk about your thoughts so far.
Speaking of Destiny, we were playing the Nightfall right before this, so
yeah, like right before this, which I'm glad we got to do, because like I said, just before, like I haven't gotten to actually complete the Nightfall for the week on any given week yet since the PC release, just due to life happening. And well, I mean, we tried last week, but we failed. But you get an Ingram, a powerful equipment for completing it for the week, and that's what I had been missing. Got to do that. We got to do the raid as well. The raid requires you to be light level 260. For those of you who don't know, I was able to hit that last week and do the raid. So we've done the raid twice. I only completed it the once, which was this past weekend. The prior week, we couldn't kill the final boss, but we did some stuff. Overall, I'm for sure enjoying it, even though one fight in the raid is super fucking buggy. Ryan, what do you? I know you got something to say about that.
dude, that dog thing is bullshit on the PC. That is such bullshit. Because with the bugs we're talking about is within the raid, there's 4 parts to the raid. There's the dogs, there's the gauntlet, there's the bathhouse, and there's what's his name? What's his name, Brandon? God damn it. Callus. So every week when it resets, and it resets every week because what you get from your weeklies. So for your Nightfall, your raid, what are the other various ones? Crucible and
Crucible, Clan, and not patrols, but public events.
they give you powerful gear, and the powerful gear emblems are above the light wall that you're going to hit at the end game, because your rare and your legendary Ingrams stop dropping stop dropping weapons and armor that are above your light level. They cap out, and that's all you're going to get. So you have to get powerful gear to infuse into your weapons and armor to make them higher.
And to level yourself up, essentially.
So, and every week during the reset, they reset the raid order in which you do each of the 3 events before you fight Callus. So the bathhouse, we struggled a little bit on our first week's run through, because we were still new. We haven't played it on console, so those who had an advantage, but we were still learning. The second week that we ran the raid,
we one-shot that.
We ran through it the first time. It was easy. The dogs,
gauntlet. So I'll talk about the gauntlet first. The gauntlet we had a little trouble with, but not really due to any of the mechanics involved. It was more due to the couple people that we had come with us that didn't come the week before. They were doing the gauntlet differently than we were. So they had to adjust.
Yeah, because there's different methods.
They had to adjust to how we were doing it. Once they did, I think we only attempted 4 times total, and we completed it. The first 3 tries were mostly just like, wait, how did you mean to do this? But then we completed. The dogs were that was ass.
Yeah, the first week we ran through it. The people on the top, because there's a top and bottom. There's 2 people on top, and the rest of the squad on the bottom, and in the woods and in the forest, where the dogs are. And the people on the top are supposed to direct the people on the bottom where to go to avoid the dogs. Because if you get seen by the dogs, then then they start going to howl mode, and you have to kill them as fast as you can, or else you die. And the raid wipes.
Which you can't do unless the people that they're supposed to be directing, essentially, they pick up these orbs and they're supposed to bring them to these flowers. And when they do that, by sneaking around the dogs and getting to the flowers, you get a buff, and it stacks. So you really want to hit as many flowers as you can to get to a damage multiplier to kill them fast. And the dogs, the way they're supposed to work, is they're really only supposed to see like in a kind of like a cone right in front of them. Not up, not down, not in back of them. But for some reason, these guys above, they'll be just be looking down at them. All of a sudden, a dog is just like, "Oh, I know where you are. I'm going to start the event. Fuck you guys."
Yeah, so wiping multiple times is not fun. Especially whenever we were on the bottom and we were doing really good at avoiding the dogs. I don't think we were seen any time. Like,
I was seen once. Yeah, I was seen once because I wasn't following closely enough.
And that's because whenever you move, we're kind of moving in a linear line, and if the tail isn't moving as fast as the rest of the group, then they're more likely to get seen. But overall, the mechanics of the raid are, I feel like they're a lot better than the mechanics in the raids in Destiny 1, other than the bugs, but we're going to exclude that from...
I'll agree for the most part, except for Oryx. I actually liked the Oryx fight.
Well, it's a different type of raid, too. This is more of a...
Oh, no, for sure. It is definitely, yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it's a game, and Callus is testing you. And it's very apparent from the gauntlet.
And for those of you who don't know, Callus's cup makes such a magical sound.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. For anyone who watches ASMR videos or enjoys anything like that, the sound that the cup makes when you shoot is perfect.
Very satisfying. It's satisfying enough that a couple of people now have made that either their ringtone or their text tone. So very satisfying. If you get to the raid and you get to play it and you get to the Callus fight, the fight's supposed to start by you shooting his cup, or if you accidentally walk up to him, he just drops his cup. Makes the same sound, but still very satisfying sound.
Brandon, it's as good as the feeling of like peeling off like that plastic layer off like your electronics for the first time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's nice. It's for sure a satisfying sound. But we actually got to complete it this week, and that was pretty cool. And there was a holy, like, what the fuck moment after you kill Callus when you're going to the chest.
I kind of don't want to spoil it, so
no, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just saying it was a very what the hell.
It was very meta too, in a way.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really enjoyable. You get the right group of people, and it's satisfying. I don't think they quite fix the rewards that you get from completing it at Prestige. But
I don't know enough about the Prestige kind of stuff to know.
But that's after your group is well developed enough to actually complete it. So we're not even there yet. So
and I would say for sure. So we made a clan. If any of you are watching and you play the game, we made a clan called the Harbingers of the Void. If you'd like to join the clan, leave a comment below. We will go ahead and send you an invite. Because one thing that I wanted to bring up is, I will say that the game can do one of two things. Well, probably both. If you're playing by yourself and you don't have anyone to play with, the game can probably either get frustrating or boring. Especially if you decide to do Crucible and you don't have any friends. It is such bullshit. Because you'll be trying to go do stuff and you're like, where the hell is my team? Nowhere. That's where. Gone doing whatever the hell they want to do, not helping you.
Yeah, solo playing on Crucible is cancer.
Yeah, we had our so we had several people on last night doing Crucible, 5 to be exact, which is one too many to do Crucible because it's supposed to be 4v4. So 4 of us were doing it. The other our other friend was like, "Oh, I'll just solo queue," and you could hear the seething anger coming from his voice.
Oh yeah, over Discord, it was bad. I don't know. 2v2 is pretty like if you're in a group of 2, it can go either way.
Still fine. Yeah, I mean that's well, you have some issues, but as long as you at least have one friend, it's a lot better than solo.
Yeah, because you just don't want to get caught in a situation where it's just you versus a whole team, or you versus 2 other people who are very well coordinated.
So the game is for sure about coordination. At the end of it, if all you are is about just leveling up and doing the story, that is no problem to do solo.
Well, you're gonna get stuck at the light, like completing even trying to do like. You couldn't do the Nightfall, this week's Nightfall solo.
No, not the Nightfall. I'm talking about just story.
Well, yeah, but you have to, if you want to get solo in game, not really.
No, not in game because
max level.
Well, yeah, but some people aren't even about that. I know some people who literally they just wanted to play the story and see what the story was, and then they were done. You can do that solo.
Yeah, but if you want to be a pseudo completionist and at least hit max level, you need the powerful engrams. And
oh yeah,
the only way to do that solo would be from public events and running Crucible, but you're not going to have a fun time running Crucible. So.
But I think that wraps up what we have to say on Destiny. Do you have any comments, Jose? And I think Jose is missing.
Well, anyway, back to talking about our clan. I mean, we're up to 10 people now, right? Or is it 12? Since our last.
I want to say edition. 11. I want to say 11 people that are officially in the clan. We actually have a few people who are not officially in the clan, but they come group with us anyway, and do stuff.
Yeah, people we
So
play D&D with.
if you count, well, not just them, like
Yeah,
Griever
agree.
and some of those other people. So if you want to count those people, we're actually probably more at about 18. So by all means, come and join us. We have a blast. Sometimes we get annoyed at stupid bullshit in Crucible, like if the team is dominating us. But hey, who doesn't like not winning? So um, Jose is having technical difficulties. Um, I know he wanted to talk about Injustice for sure. Uh, Although he doesn't like the fact that the Ninja Turtles are going to be in it. I think the Ninja Turtles are actually pretty cool to have in it.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know.
And it's a fighting game. I mean, I don't care if it's canon or not canon, if people have opinions on that. I
I
just think
mean,
it's cool that
Mortal
they're
Kombat did
there.
that too, so I
Yeah.
guess now the precedent has been set.
Well, Mortal Kombat is also part of DC now. Like Scorpion, especially, is entirely there. Uh, and I'm gonna mute myself for a moment here. One moment.
Apparently, Jose blue screened. Well, while they discuss whatever they're discussing, I just want to say I saw the new teaser trailer for Deadpool 2, and that looked amazing. I was kind of nervous um, about having a new director because of the conflicts that they were having with the director from Deadpool 1, but after seeing that trailer and after seeing Negasonic Teenage Warhead in her yellow X-Men suit, I'm excited. I'm curious as to see what direction they go with a villain or an antagonist. I mean, it is Deadpool. They don't necessarily have to have a classic villain per se, but the antagonist uh, could very well be another anti-hero. I mean,
I kind of hope not. I hope it's an actual villain.
well, I was thinking as I don't know if it's actually true or not, but I have heard that X Force is going to be featured in the new movie. Because
I can see that.
I think there was a leak or something about the gray and black Deadpool suit from when he was in X Force. So
I could see a lead into that. That would be cool.
because I would like to see the other characters, like it would be so cool if they could bring in like Sabretooth or something. Bring Sabretooth in and then just laugh about Wolverine not being in it.
What Sabretooth though? Do you cast someone new? Do you use the one from Origin
Oh
who?
no. Did cast someone new. Like re-update it like they did I mean, we haven't seen Cable before
and
in it,
and
but
especially now with the news about Marvel buying 20th Century Fox.
well, we'll see what happens whenever like where the chips fall with that.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm hoping that Fox is not a bunch of douchebags and decide to keep the Marvel property but sell them 20th Century Fox.
That would be really dickish.
It would be really dickish, but we're talking about Fox here.
I can sit here as a Deadpool fan and be like, oh man, it'd be so great to see him like. And I was making jokes about it about Deadpool being in the Avengers 3 Part 2 or something like that and fight Thanos or just like pop up behind Thanos and just like stab him.
I mean,
But
that would be cool. But I mean, the other part of that is that I know that pretty much all of the fans would like to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman be able to reprise their roles in the MCU. But it is Disney. They could just decide to cast someone else.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that personally.
You don't think that they'll keep Ryan Reynolds either?
No, I don't
Even
think
though
we're going to get Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in these two characters in the same film.
No, because I mean, Hugh Jackman said that he doesn't want to do Wolverine anymore, but he would
If it was MCU.
it were part of the MCU. So,
Right, yeah, and I don't disagree with what you say, and I do think he's actually willing to do that. I'm just saying I don't think that's something that Disney's willing to do.
oh yeah, and yeah, that's the most questionable part. I mean, Ryan Reynolds does make a pretty damn good Deadpool. Hugh Jackman is now considered the Wolverine.
I mean, just ask
However-
Steven.
However, they could recast him for no other reason than the Wolverine in the comics is not like Hugh Jackman. He's a short guy. So they could try to match that up. Ryan Reynolds actually pretty much just matches up with Deadpool. I mean, that's. But we'll have to see what happens with that. Jose, did you want to talk about Injustice, or should me and Ryan move on to Dragon Ball?
Go ahead and do Dragon Ball. I'll come back to Injustice.
Okay. So the first part of what's happened in Dragon Ball so far was at first it was a fight between Caulifla, Kale, and Goku. Goku is obviously toying it with them essentially for a good bit, and then Kale had her bullshit moment because she turned into like the brawly legendary Saiyan again, and then just with Caulifla being like, but hey, I like that you're my sis, and all of a sudden Kale could control it, which whatever. The cool part was when they pulled out Potara earrings and fused into what's now known as Kefla. I thought that was pretty hilarious. What did you think of the fusion, Ryan?
I thought it was freaking amazing.
Yeah,
I
thought it was pretty cool.
I like Caulifla, and
I like Caulifla. I really don't like Kale.
I don't like her personality. But
me either.
With them fused and their power level, we've never seen Goku or Vegeta fight another fused Saiyan combo.
That's true, and so they never fought another fused Saiyan combo. So yeah, because the only other fused Saiyan combo would have been Gotenks, and they didn't fight their own kids.
And well, since we never seen any sort of fight like that before, you haven't established like power level. I know power levels are bullshit, but you see like you saw how powerful Vegeta and Goku were when they were fused at that time when they did their fusion. So seeing how much Goku struggled against fighting the new Saiyan fusion.
Now I think that he struggled as much as he did. There we go. Only because of Kale's bullshit power. It's because of her legendary
bullshit.
I think it's just a matter of opinion. I mean, it's not bullshit, but it is kind of bullshit. But I mean, regardless, Kefla is only that strong due to Kale's intense power.
I don't know. I think that
because Goku struggled before while he was Super Saiyan Blue against Kale, just her berserking.
But I don't think we're going to see Kale progress any further than the fusion.
No, I don't think so either. I could potentially see Cauliflower going Super Saiyan 3, and I think that'll be the end of it for her.
Because she has a lot more potential. She has a lot more potential as a natural fighter. She picked up on Goku's moves way quicker. Goku even stated in their fight before they were fused, he's like, "Oh, I see. That trick won't work on you anymore." And we saw Goku pulling out moves we never seen him before. He copied Tien. We never seen him.
Yeah, we have.
You have seen him.
Yes, he has done Solar Flare many times.
I don't know. I feel like it's newer in this because Goku's fighting style is being changed up a little bit. Now, I don't know if it's because new animators or just because of his new technique when he goes ultra whatever.
I don't like the name Ultra Instinct.
Ultra
I think
Instinct.
the name is dumb. I like the transformation, and I think it's really cool.
Well,
And
beyond the
he ends.
transformation, when his fighting style completely changes because of the ability itself. Like whenever he was fighting, what's his name, Jiren, like he was doing moves during his fight where he never moved articulated like that in the fight before.
No, that's entirely different. Yeah, that's due to the Ultra Instinct, and I do like it. I just don't like that it's called Ultra Instinct.
Maybe they'll
I want
retcon it
them,
like Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. They'll retcon that and they'll be like, and I think this
maybe it'll be Super Saiyan White.
Well, I think this arc is making fun, is a little self-deprecation with the whole. They realized that their name was stupid, and they've made other people have really stupid names, and those people say their names over and over again, and people in the audience are like, "Well, that's dumb." Like that team,
dumb, yeah.
But they had characters in the show say, "Well, that's a stupid name."
That's true. They do that, and I like that they're recognizing it.
I think what you don't like about Cauliflower and Kale is the fact that they are. I don't want to say they're a meme, but they are a joke. They are making fun of. They are the opposite of Goku and Vegeta's story. Goku went through all these trials of trying to save different people and planets and his family and bullshit.
I mean, that's true.
And it pushed him further. And these new Super Saiyans come from another universe. And how did they go Super Saiyan 2? Oh, I felt Super Saiyan. I felt a tingling in my back.
Well, yeah, that was kind of silly. But no, I just don't like Kale. Cauliflower I'm cool with. I like Cauliflower. I just don't like Kale's personality. It's so annoying.
Oh, how she's all
so whiny, and it's just like, shut her up.
Well, maybe Frieza would kill her.
He'll be disqualified. Hopefully he knocks her out.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think Goku's just gonna knock him the hell out.
Oh, that was so satisfying seeing him go Ultra Instinct again.
Yes, it was very well. And then when he did, you see Jiren like open his eyes like, oh, the fighter is back.
I think that like they said, and they briefly described it, and the first time he went Ultra Instinct, and all the gods were surprised and everything, and what's his name, the angel or whatever, was like, oh, that's a technique that God's destruction can get after years, like after training intensely, because
it takes them a long time. That it's
difficult, but it's a technique. It's a technique. It's not necessarily like a new. It's not like an evolution where he goes from Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3.
Well, then I disagree. I think it's both, because I think it's, in Goku's case at least, for sure a transformation, because
Was Kaioken
they are a start to a transformation.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's his final form. Not to quote Frieza.
Man, you did anyway.
But I don't think it's his final form. I think that we're gonna see something happen. Either they're gonna fuse. Either he's gonna fuse and with Vegeta, and they're gonna use and through their fusion, they're gonna come up with some half-cocked bullshit. Oh, Goku used Ultra Instinct while they were fused, and now Vegeta can use it too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
I
surprised if
can
they use them.
I can see that, and honestly, if they do fuse, I'm really hoping it's the fusion dance and it's Gogeta. I really want Gogeta to come back, not Vegito. I mean, Vegito's cool, don't be wrong, and I really enjoyed him during the Trunks saga, and of course, the Buu saga. But I really want to see Gogeta.
So I think that there's going to be some sort of final form. I think that that was just pushing him over the limit, and
I'm really upset with Gohan.
yeah, I think everyone is.
So,
But it's a
I mean,
matter
I
of
know-
some semantics when it comes to the forms and stuff.
Yeah, I know Ryan, because we're friends and everything. But for those of you watching, Gohan, at least during the Cell saga, was my favorite character, and just ever since then, it's just letdown after letdown, and then him just becoming more and more of a little bitch.
Well, it focused. The Cell Saga focused on Gohan and him becoming a fighter, and it showed a really good bond between him and Goku and whatever. Whenever they did their final,
But even toward the end of the Buu saga, like he became like a badass again when he became Mystic Gohan. He was knocking the shit out of Buu. I was like, yes, finally get to see him be a badass.
Mystic Gohan was probably the best Gohan or power up that we've seen with his character.
then-
But after that, it just went. You
Yeah,
never
and then
saw
it's
him.
like now in Super, it's just like, oh, I'm useless. So
What was that Mark was saying? A Gohan and a Piccolo fusion.
no, that I was saying that go Hiccolo. I think that would be funny. I mean, I really don't see that happening, but it would be funny.
I don't see them trying to abuse fusions. They're gonna. That's kind of
Well,
like what we were talking about with the Hulk and Thor thing.
I don't think they are either because they even made the joke about it. They had one of the other gods of destruction or Kai's like take him
Oh,
off
about
and
the
like hey
earrings?
like here catch you guys do it too and you know I think it was Kefla flying through the place disintegrated them. They were like nope we're not doing fusion sorry.
Wait. I'm confused. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so after Kale and Cauliflower fuse and
Yeah.
the gods of destruction see how powerful it is,
Yeah.
one of the other universes.
The Goku's.
No,
Yes.
no,
Goku.
yes,
Beerus
that
talks
is.
about it,
But
and
yes,
then the other gods are
Beerus
like, "Oh, we
does,
don't need to do that."
except for one. One of them was like, "Oh, we'll do it," and he's like, "Hey, the Kai or whatever." He's like, "Take off
It's
your earrings,"
okay.
and so they do. He takes off the earrings and they throw them to their people, and while they're flying through the air and they're gonna running to catch them, Kefla is attacking Goku, and when Kefla is flying through the place trying to knock Goku out, the earrings get disintegrated by her raw power.
I must have missed that. Admittedly, I was watching it from Crunchyroll on my
And-
phone at lunch,
And one
it
of
was
the
buffering like shit.
the god of destruction, it was a female god of destruction. She's like, oh, and that's beautiful too. So I think it was the love universe or whatever.
Oh,
Or
gotcha.
something. But either way, I mean that didn't happen. So they made that joke about it. So I don't think any other Potara fusions are going to happen. So I think the only fusion that could possibly happen is going to be the fusion dance, and the only people who can perform it, you have Goku and Vegeta because they've seen it, and you have Piccolo and Gohan because they've seen it. Those are the only people who even know what the fusion dance is.
That are in the fight.
Presumably, yeah, that are in the fight. And I don't think it's going to be Gohan and Piccolo. That would just be silly. I think one of them will get knocked out before any kind of other fusion happens, so that only leaves Goku and Vegeta.
I hope Piccolo gets knocked out. I hope Piccolo gets knocked out, and then we see Gohan like step up. That would be nice. Am I
It
wrong?
would be nice, but we'll have to see. I feel like I'm just going to be severely let down with Gohan. But I think that about wraps up
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Super for the moment, at least until we get a few more episodes in. Did you want to do Injustice?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about Destiny for a minute though,
Oh, all right.
because I have a very different gameplay experience than you guys. Uh, as you know, I am not a typical gamer. I don't play all the time. So I'm playing with some friends and I'm having silly shit like falling off the edge of the map happening. I'm losing track of who my characters are and like I'm shooting at the wrong things. But I will say this, as much bullshit as I'm going through, I am having a great time playing this game. It's super fun. I'm really enjoying the mechanics of it. I'm really enjoying the cooperative play. It's not. I haven't run into too many glitches, and even if I have, I probably wouldn't notice, to be honest. But it is a really fun time. So I'm glad that you guys got me into it. But I'm gonna go ahead.
That kind of goes with what we were saying. Because you said you were playing with friends. That's a big part of it. Really, the only glitch we had was in the raid so far. That's by far the most noticeable one, and it's only in one section of it.
Yeah, and I haven't done the raids yet. I just hit power 260 last night. So.
Okay.
Oh, great! That means we could probably sub you in for our
Yeah,
next
exactly.
one.
One of the reasons that I'm kind of behind you guys is because the beta for Injustice 2 on PC came out, and that's something I've really, really been waiting for because I really enjoyed the first Injustice game, and I got to play it, and it doesn't disappoint. I will say this though: the fact that they only released the PvP part of it in the beta kind of sucked, so I didn't get to see the story, but I'm sure I'll be able to experience that soon enough. However, the full version of the game comes out Friday, I believe, and I'm not going to be able to get it that day, so I'm going to be kind of pissed off and grumpy about that because I'm also going to be getting, I think it's this week or next week, I'm also going to be getting Star Wars Battlefront 2. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Well,
Don't
I've
get
heard,
it, Jose. Don't get it.
I've heard it's a vast improvement over Battlefront.
No, now I'll say this: the game itself probably is, and everything I've heard about it is a vast improvement. However, EA is the biggest pile of shit company I have ever seen.
Well, it's Star Wars, so they're getting my money. But I actually
Just go see the new movie 16 times.
I refuse to buy it.
Yeah, same here.
So I'm going to show a little clip here of
Battlefront 2
play here. No, this isn't Battlefront 2. This is Injustice. This was me playing the other night, and it was me playing Catwoman versus Flash. And one of the things I really appreciate about this game is there are a lot of attributes each character have that give you certain advantages over other characters, and it really requires you to step up your gameplay to overcome some of those things. So, like, for example, I played Catwoman. Catwoman is one of my favorite characters, by the way, to play in this game. And you can see in here I'm playing as Catwoman, and I end up beating Flash. Spoilers. But I played Catwoman versus Gorilla Grodd, and I thought that was just going to be a totally one-sided fight because Catwoman's so much faster than Grodd, and Grodd absolutely destroyed me. So I was like, holy shit, Grodd must be a really good character to play. So I went to go play Grodd, and I absolutely got destroyed because he's really slow, and I didn't know how to play the character properly. So there is a little bit of a learning curve for learning how each character works and what their advantages are to using them versus the different types of characters, whether it's speed versus brute strength, or melee, or your supers or stuff like that. And the supers, by the way, are pretty damn satisfying. All those, however, you can just go to YouTube and see. But I've been having a good time playing the beta. It closed yesterday, and the full game, like I said, is being released on Friday. And unfortunately, I won't be able to pick it up quite then, but I will have it soon in the future. But I know, Brandon, you said you were looking forward to playing this game.
All right. Yes. Yes, I am looking forward to playing. I enjoyed the first game. I thought, if I remember, I might not be remembering it right, but if I remember right, I didn't really like the story of the first one, but I like the multiplayer aspect. I mean, for me, I play fighting games to fight. I play to just bash someone's face in. Um, I don't like most fighting games, so I'll be clear on that. There are really only, I think, three now. I'll say four that I do enjoy. One of them is Injustice. Another is Mortal Kombat, and essentially Injustice is Mortal Kombat just with DC characters. And then I like Soul Calibur. I don't like Street Fighter. I don't like Tekken. So I'm for sure looking forward to it. I know that you're not looking forward to Ninja Turtles being a DLC for it. I actually am.
I'm just not gonna pay to have it. I mean, that solves that problem.
Well, so you mentioned something about an Injustice, like something getting an advantage over another character or whatever. Well, you know how you get an advantage in Battlefront 2? You spend money on buying goddamn loot boxes. That's how you get your advantages.
We're not talking about Battlefront 2. We're talking about Injustice 2.
So I will gladly spend money to just get additional characters that don't have any kind of advantage. They're just there for you to play with. That's
I
fine.
don't care about what kind of advantages they are. I'm just not a turtle fan.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, but that was my childhood, so I look forward to seeing them in a fighting game, and how that combat will play out.
I'm kind of curious that if I don't get the DLC and I'm playing against someone that does have the DLC, will I encounter those people? Will I see them on my screen?
Oh yeah, you'll see them, and you can fight against them. You just can't play as the character.
That's kind of, I mean, if you can see the character fighting, you have the content.
Model,
it's just, it's just not open to you. That's kind of like by calling it DLC, I expect to get something I don't already have.
True. I guess DLC is the wrong term. I guess the better term would just be an unlock, or however you want to discuss it. I don't necessarily agree with the tactics they use sometimes on that either, but if Mortal Kombat is any indication of the cost, it's only going to be like $5. I'll spend $5.
That's $5 on a character that I don't want. So,
well, yeah, for you, yeah, that's understandable. But for me, yeah, I'll pay the $5 to play as Ninja Turtles. Maybe that's like in Rocket League. I'll every single console or system that I own it on, which will be 3 now that it's on the Switch. Every single time, I am buying the DeLorean.
Well, I kind of lost my train of thought. What I was going to say there about the game. Oh, so if it turns out the turtles are like really OP, I'd probably end up buying them just to be able to win certain fights. But I don't see myself playing as those characters willingly.
No, and I don't see them necessarily. Well, actually, that might not be true. They could be a little OP because there's, like in Mortal Kombat, there's a character that is Tremor, that is kind of a little OP, and he's like a character that you have to buy.
Now, is Splinter going to be in the DLC?
I don't know.
See, I wouldn't mind playing as like Splinter or even Casey Jones, just not the Turtles.
Yeah, I don't know which of the Turtles are going to be in it, if it's all 4. If they're going to include the female one, I don't even know her name. Splinter. They could go with Yojimbo as well. That's like another character that would be cool to see fighting because he's a cool rabbit with a sword. That's always fun. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I, like you, I can't buy it this week. It's going to have to wait until at least Christmas for me.
Yeah, and I'm hating that. But, such is life. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because we've been going for 2.5 hours now. But at least we caught up on some of the stuff we've missed over the last few weeks and talked about some of the stuff that, like, I know you and I have really been looking forward to talking about rather. But next week, obviously, we're going to be talking about Justice League. We'll probably be talking some more Destiny, depending on what we do there and whatever games I happen to pick up. Actually, there's a game someone's been egging me on to buy, or not buy. It's actually free to play. It's called not FortiGate. Fortnite. Yeah. Have you played that?
I have. There's two sides to Fortnite. One is free. One is not. The PvP portion of Fortnite is free. It is essentially a giant battle arena. They drop, I think it's like 100 people into an island. Last person standing wins, or last team standing wins, because you can queue solo or you can queue with up to like I think 3 or 4 people. The other side of it, the PvE part, which is more like a defense kind of thing, where you and your team build a little base and stop waves of mobs coming at you. That one costs $20.
Okay. Well, like I said, whichever ones we get into, we'll go ahead and talk about that, and Justice League, and then we'll catch up with Inhumans and Gifted as well. But like I said, I really enjoyed the stuff that we did talk about that I enjoyed. I really disliked Suburbicon, that piece of shit movie. And I know Ryan had to step out early, but we're going to go ahead and say goodnight. So on behalf of everybody, myself, Ryan, Brandon, we are going to get out of here. So that's it. Have a good night. Don't forget to watch, like, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends, and always talk nerdy to us. Bye-bye.